like the dude just said. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, welcome to the middle of the week. Welcome to the day we call Hump Day, which means, of course, we got to start the show by hearing from the camel. Play it, man.
Uh-oh. Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Mike. What day is it, Mike? Leslie, guess what today is?
It's Hump Day.
Woo-hoo! It is indeed Hump Day. You're halfway to the weekend, my friends. Halfway to go home time on a Friday afternoon. But in the meantime, we're here on Hump Day with you, and JP is pushing buttons on the board. Hey, man, how you doing?
I'm great. How about you?
I'm good. I'm good enough. How about that? I'm good.
Better than we deserve.
That's right.
Another day, another show.
Too blessed to whine.
Absolutely.
Glad to have everybody online with us. Say, listen, we got a great show laid on for you. It's the usual thing. You know what happens on Wednesdays, right? Middle of the week, we play the camel at the first part. And the beginning of hour number 3, we switch to a thing called the Grand Council, where I bring in 2 of my brethren in talk radio, Jeff Poor and Dale Jackson. And we ping each other with questions on the news of the day and to see where the chips fall. So, yeah, indeed, Grand Council coming up at 4 p.m. Stand by for that. And then I got a triple dipper just filled up with stuff. So hit it, man.
The Triple Dipper. 3 stories you've got to know.
That's right, the Triple Dipper. 3 stories, 3 themes, if you will, that you got to know as we run today's show. So first out the gate, we're going to be talking about fighting idiocracy. Oh, yeah. Fighting idiocracy. Y'all, my monologue and the first dipper are about the efforts being made right now to turn back the tide of wokeness, of dismantling the idiocracy. Well, it's fun. It's fun to watch. And so, yeah, we'll talk about it. Number 1, fighting idiocracy. Number 2, I'm calling it blue crime. Blue crime. That's crime in the blue cities. That's crime where apparently crime is more pronounced than in other places. Why would that be? Pray tell. Maybe it's blue policies. But we'll talk about that. Number 2 on the Triple Dipper, blue crime. And then number 3, look, things that make you go into wondering, like things that make you wonder, like you look at it and go, why is that happening the way it is? What were they thinking? Why would they ever do that? I got a series of stories like that. And oh, by the way, they're all done in some official capacity. So yeah, things that make you wonder is number 3 on the Triple Dipper. All right, let me jump on into today's Rightside Way opening monologue. I'll just remind you guys that, as always, attorney Stan McDonald, partner at the law firm of Wilmer and Lee in Huntsville. Stan McDonald is indeed the daily sponsor of your Rightside Way monologue, and I'll tell you more about Stan here in just a few minutes. Okay, so I remember my first ride in a Black Hawk helicopter. Listen, if you've ever, then you know. My first ride in a Black Hawk helicopter, I was a cadet working toward my commission to be an Army officer. I was at Fort Riley, Kansas. The year was 1986. We were being trained on a basic air assault operations, and the Black Hawk crews were intent on giving us a solid dose of life at high speed. Somewhere, I believe I still have a picture that somebody took of me sitting in the Black Hawk with my face darkened with camo grease paint, a rucksack sitting in my lap, and all you could see was the white of my teeth as I was grinning from ear to ear as we flew nap of the earth with the doors open. I was sitting in the well towards the back right, next to the open doors. And the wind, man, was coming through so hard and so fast that my face was literally rippling from the air pressure. Top speed of a Black Hawk is just over 180 miles an hour. And I'm pretty sure the crew was pushing the airframe towards that number. It was epic. It was speed like I have never experienced. It was pure velocity. It was the movement rate of an object in a certain direction. It was absolutely terrifying and glorious all at one time. Well, look, I got to tell you, thinking of speed and velocity, scientists may have actually discovered a new means of measuring velocity, my friends. They may have. We've had any number of terms that we can apply to the measurement of the movement of one object toward a certain direction. You can measure wind in knots. You can measure speed in miles per hour. You can calculate distance of paratroopers drifting across a drop zone using a formula like D equal KAV. There's a speed of sound. There's a speed of light. But now there's a new formulaic designation for the speed with which woke policies are rescinded and the order and common sense are restored. It's a directional thing because it always moves to the right. It's a formula that considers woke multiplied by kakistocracy and then factored by common sense. And I call it the speed of Trump. And it is setting the world on fire right now. Look, the White House just put out a short video yesterday that inspired today's monologue, and I'll play it for you in a little bit. That video literally takes into account all of the woke left policies that we all despise and the promises that were made by Trump to deal with them, and then flips to the actual work that was done at the speed of Trump to remove them. It's really pretty epic. And the left, y'all, the left is on its heels right now, trying to figure out how to stop mouth breathing and get back to a place of leftist stability, if there is such a thing. We've seen the Trump administration lay waste to policies like open borders and mandated electric vehicles and transgenders and girls' sports and taxpayer-funded abortion, critical race theory, DEI, soft on crime prosecutions, identity politics, teachers' union mandates, and the list just keeps going on. The amount that has been done at the speed of Trump in a mere 6 months is staggering when you take it all in its totality. And the interesting thing about velocity measured in the speed of Trump is that it appears to have sort of captured the enigma known as perpetual motion, because it just keeps going. It's like it's fueling itself, seemingly able to continue picking up speed. But the left, I got to tell you, man, the left earned this. You see, the progressive left never knows when enough is enough. They grabbed and clawed and cajoled and mandated to the point that the actual catalyst for launching the blinding dash to the right at the speed of Trump, it was not actually the right side of society that lit the flame. It was the left. It was the left that lit the flame. But the right is now the one getting to enjoy the ride that beats flying nap of the earth in a Black Hawk with the doors open. I mean, we're feeling the wind ripple our faces right now as we move through life at the speed of Trump. But with that said, I mean, let's consider where we've been. What is it that the left did that created this new and measurable means of postulating velocity? Well, let me first say that I have a hard time sitting through what I call idiot movies, right? Idiot movies. Go with me here. I know I'm going to offend somebody, probably even JP. Movies of the kind that are just so silly they go beyond slapstick. Things like Austin Powers, Dumb and Dumber, Waterboy. I mean, they have their place. They have some funny moments, but I can only take them in small doses. But there's a movie that came out like 15 or so years ago that was like that, but it was also kind of interesting. And the movie was called Idiocracy. I've told you about it before. The premise of that movie was that an extremely average guy agreed to take part in a government hibernation project. And so he was frozen and then promptly forgotten. And he woke up 500 years later and he found out that the United States of the future was wallowing around in bad ideas. The people had become incredibly stupid over time since technology just took care of all their needs. They had no serious thought, no education. Everything was simple, so were the people. And they just consumed pop culture fads and consumed via, immediate gratification. They chose to be anti-intellectual. Well, at one point in the movie, the average guy from the past is determined to be the smartest guy. They thought of him like, you're the smartest guy around here. Why? Simply because he realized that crops were failing because they were being watered with a sports drink instead of water. Why would they do that? Well, because the sports drink and corporation in the movie owned the FDA and the USDA, so it had the laws changed to mandate that their product had to be bought and then used in bulk, which did nothing for the economy in the movie, but it did make the sports drink company rich. And so, yeah, the movie was called Idiocracy. And yes, it was. But that whole sports drink scenario, it was just for a silly movie, right? Or was it? I mean, think about this. In essence, the movie Idiocracy is exactly where we were for the last 4 years. It was one spectacular wokeism after another sought to tear away the fabric of our society. And then along came the 2024 election, and Donald Trump and his team entered the scene and merely began to move with a quick speed to simply make common sense common again. And suddenly, things began to work. Funny how that happens, right? And the speed with which he is doing it is part of the solution itself. You see, woke does not stop because of slow-moving, ponderous, bureaucratic responses. Woke only stops if you move at blinding speed to rip off the Band-Aid and then demand change in short order. The speed of Trump, in other words. Let me take one of the examples. Think about what happened with EV mandates. Remember this? Consider the EV mandates that we were under. It was the wave of the future. It's going to counter the existential threat of global warming, or is it global cooling? No, it's acid rain. Wait, it's climate change. That's right, climate change. All they had to do was define the problem and then mandate the solution, right? Well, part of that mandate was the forced governmental action that was playing out about as well as an idiocracy watering crops with a sugary sports drink. The Biden administration set a goal of having the majority of all cars and trucks sold in the U.S. to be electric by the year 2032. They called EVs the saviors of the climate, And in just 9 years, they intended to reshape one of the largest market forces in the entire world economy. Well, it takes a load of idiocracy to imagine that auto manufacturers are just going to be able to turn on a dime and embrace the full retooling of all their plants, their distribution systems, their logistics, their manning, their engineering, their advertising, all of it. Basically, their whole industry. Yeah, but they didn't see it that way. The idiocracy said, no, we will do this. Almost like a sports drink being used to water crops in the movie, right? Ford Motor Company wound up suffering a $5.4 billion loss in 2023 alone in their EV market. But in the midst of the changeover, it became clear that not only did they have to change, but they had to also create a new dynamic charging system that didn't otherwise exist. Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Everyone did not have access to a charger. Not everyone will for decades. So auto manufacturers had to sell you an additional item to be installed in your home. Yeah, but what if you're on a trip? Well, good luck. So yeah, the left injected massive government funds and mandated regulatory actions to then enforce, and the auto manufacturers actually had to make it to the goal of selling a majority of EVs or face penalties, right? But then you had to stop and think, could the grid even sustain it? The electric grid. Could the electric grid even sustain all of these new EVs? I mean, the power for EVs has to come from somewhere, and experts all agreed. The current grid cannot sustain that much EV charging. So when you get down to it, the same government that was mandating the load increase on the electrical grid to reach its EV goals was also the same government that made it take an average of 5 years to even get a new power plant approved. Savvy, well-run states like California began dismantling their grids in favor of so-called sustainable solutions like wind and solar, which is why this past year they had to even call for people to stop charging their EVs during a heat wave. California lawmakers then began considering, what if we could actually steal the power back from charging EVs during peak use when the grid's overtaxed? You see what I'm saying? Every bit of that made about as much sense as the stuff from the movie Idiocracy. It was an absolute asinine attempt to just force change and go down roads that were never sustainable, but they made sense to somebody in an idiocracy. But all that woke, well, it came to a screeching halt as the perpetual motion machine flew by, going nap of the earth with the doors open, moving at the speed of Trump. And suddenly, the sycophants and the idiocracy were left standing flat-footed, wondering where they went wrong. And I got to tell you, I am enjoying this ride. I want more of it. I am grinning from ear to ear as the world moves to the right at the speed of Trump. And that's a wrap for the Right Side Way. Yeah, indeed. I mean, think about it. The left can't even catch up right now. And I really think the speed at which he's moving is part of the plan. There's not just a desire to do certain things. There's a desire to do them and to do them quickly before the left has a chance to get its act together. That speed of Trump, the speed alone is part of the security. The speed alone is part of the plan. And it's epic to watch, y'all. Like flying in a Black Hawk with the doors open. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. January 6th, you may think, Phil, is that old news? It's really not. I mean, it's a very new news. There are still things right now. There are still people recovering their lives. The pardons were just issued by President Trump just in the last few months. And there's still, in my opinion, a lot to get sorted. And I think we're going to start seeing some measure of accountability. And we'll see. We'll see. But I thought it'd be interesting. I've never had anybody on my show who was there that day. So I want to bring somebody on right now. So David Robinson's here in studio right now. David hails from the Athens region, and David was actually there that day. Oh, by the way, David is actually now also assisting us with sales here at Rightside. But David Robson, welcome to the Right Side Studio, man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate being here.
Well, appreciate you being here. And so you were there on January 6, 2021.
I was. Me and my wife, we were both there.
Okay. This is fascinating. I mean, I have watched any number of stories on it. I've read things on it. I've spoken about it. I've never talked to somebody who was there. So I guess I just want to go from soup to nuts here and figure out, what that was all like and then what your thoughts were after the fact. All right.
All right. Sounds good.
Let's break it down. I mean, so you and your wife, how'd y'all wind up getting? I mean, did you look at like 3 weeks in advance? Said, let's plan a trip, honey. What do you want to do? And this is a big second honeymoon. I mean, what was this? Was this like a lark, or was it a planned out event?
It was not planned at all. My wife actually pushed me to go.
Oh, no kidding.
Yes. So we were living in Athens at the time.
All right.
We moved to Athens in June 2020. We actually moved because COVID shut down Maryland so bad.
Yeah.
It was beyond cabin fever. We got to go.
So you were from Maryland. Okay.
My wife's from Maryland.
Okay. Gotcha.
I'm from all over because I'm an Army brat.
Gotcha.
So, but we were visiting family back in Maryland, where my wife's family is from, around Christmas time, Christmas and New Year's. And she saw that January 6th was happening. She saw the announcement. She saw the speech lineup of who was going to be speaking. And she's like, let's go. I mean, we're an hour away. We were outside of Annapolis. Let's go. And I'm like, I mean, all the stuff going on in 2020 is really fresh.
Yeah. The summer of love, all the riots, everything.
Yes, exactly. I mean, do I want to take my wife somewhere that could be a riot and you get boxed in and you're not getting out? I mean, I know it's DC, but still it was really fresh. I mean, a lot went on in 2020.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So your wife has the idea first of all, but then y'all just decided to get on a train, you drive in, what'd you do?
We took a train.
All right.
So I was thinking the traffic would be horrible. It would be rough getting in,
you were
getting
probably
out.
right.
So we took a train right outside of 495. First train. We were on the first train available. So we left really early. We was at the train station and we took it to downtown DC, which is probably about 1.5 miles, 2 miles from the White House.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I've done those stations many times. So you guys get in there. Was there a crowd? Like, were you riding? Was the train full of people wearing MAGA hats? I mean, what was the deal? Was there like a crowd already forming?
No, there wasn't. I don't remember that much of the train ride there. I don't think there was that many people on the train. Very few, maybe a few commuters. It was still COVID, so it was still lockdown procedures.
Oh yeah.
And I don't even really remember masks. I brought mine. I was more nervous about other people getting it. That's just my heart for other people. We didn't know it was still
right.
And in Maryland, it was so bad. It was a big topic. We didn't want people falling out and dying.
So crowds weren't huge yet, but the crowds got big while you were there though, right?
Yes, they did.
You got out there on the Washington Mall?
Yes. In between the Washington Monument and the White House, they had a stage set up in front of the White House. In those two areas, we got there probably before 8:00.
Oh, wow. You got there early.
We did.
What time did the speeches start? I don't even remember.
I'm not even sure. I think the first speech was maybe 10:30.
Okay.
Something like that.
So how close to the stage were you?
100 yards, 200 yards.
I guess in a big event like that, that's not really far away. You're at a decent spot.
Correct. Yes.
All right. So lineup of speakers, including President Trump, right?
Yes. President Trump was speaking. We got there really early. There wasn't as many people, but they were trickling in. There was a lot of people trickling in. The space that we had in front of the Washington Monument started getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And there was a lot of people.
So let me ask you this. There's been a lot of talk, on the left, and we'll unpack it more here in a minute, but there's been a lot of talk on the left about, the angry mobs and the attempts to overthrow the government and all that. What was the mood of the crowd as you're standing there? Was it an angry crowd? Was it a crowd that was jazzed up? Was it a crowd that was just there to see what was going on? What'd you see?
It was a crowd. To me, it was one of the most patriotic events I've ever been to.
Okay.
I've been to the 8808 rally. I think.
And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Saving the world one soundbite at a time. Text lines are open. Text it. Call it. Text it. 833-687-4448. That's 833-68-RIGHT. I'd like to hear your thoughts about the speed of Trump. What do you think? Is the speed part of the plan? I think it is. But let me tell you about attorney Stan McDonald. So yes, indeed, attorney Stan McDonald, partner at the law firm of Wilmer and Lee. He's a 30-year veteran in the practice of law in North Alabama. Look, I know Stan personally. I can tell you for a fact that he is not only a good attorney, he's also been a long-time conservative, like a warrior in the trenches, in the mix, in the fray, if you will, on all the policies and politics that right-side ruffians care about. So that being said, as a lawyer, I can tell you Stan McDonald has done represented his clients in literally thousands of real estate transactions over the years. He knows how to stand up for you in any local, state, or federal court. I like to say if Stan McDonald is in fact your friend, you will have no greater friend. And oh, by the way, your adversaries would have no greater foe. So that being said, Attorney Stan McDonald at the law firm of Wilmer and Lee. I'm going to give you his phone number. You ready? Here we go. Stan McDonald, 256-479-3020. That's Stan McDonald, 256-479-3020, and tell him you heard about it on Rightside Radio. And no representation made as I would ever put a bad attorney's disclaimer on my show. How about that? Whoop, 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 whoop. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mama. Thank you very much. Text lines, what we got here? Got a few of them dropping in. Let's see what Thomas from Athens has to say. He says, with apologies to my grammar teachers, you are defining idiocracy, jackassical, and kakistocracy. Okay. Okay. Yes. Yeah. So I think what he means is some of my favorite words that we used a lot in the last 4 years were idiocracy, jackassery, and kakistocracy. Kakistocracy being a real word that means a government run by the least competent of its citizens. So yes, indeed. Thomas, thanks. John from Huntsville says, Phil, awesome monologue. Also, did you hear there's a shooting at Fort Stewart? Yeah, I was going to get into that in a minute. But there is, yes, there's been an update. They're all clear now, and they're about to do a press conference, it appears, just from looking up at the screen. But yeah, there was a active shooting incident at Fort Stewart, Georgia, which I've been to many times, had family stationed there as well. And then he says, by the way, JP, I have a feeling your Braves are not going to make the playoffs this year. They lost another game last night, just so you know. Just want to make sure you know.
Thanks for the heads up.
Yeah. He wasn't sure if you were tracking.
Oh, I am. Yeah. I'm always tracking.
Allie from Athens says, Sir Colonel, it is the most appropriate to say we suffered from kakistocracy, idiocracy, or was it idiotic kakistocracy? Yes, all of the above. I'll take both. Yeah. So listen, we're gonna cover several things in terms of breaking news here in a moment. We got something out of Tennessee that I think I need to make sure is known, especially to our Chattanooga audience. And then, oh, by the way, we're gonna talk about the Fort Stewart thing coming up. But yeah, and then we got an audio. Actually, it's video. Those of y'all that are live streaming the show, or if you want to get on the live stream real quick before we come back for the next break, I've got this new. It's a short video, but it's very, very, very good. Put out by the White House. The White House put it out, and it basically just goes down the line. Fighting idiocracy. Trump promised this, Trump did that. Trump promised this, Trump did that. And then keep in mind, this is only 6 months in. It's amazing. So if you're on the live stream, you'll see it. If not, you'll hear it. Bruce from Springville real quick says, Trump's speed is paramount while Congress has some common sense. Yeah, get her done while you got some people with common sense in there and enough majority to do it. All right, folks, we'll take a break. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back.
Party rally,
Okay.
or it might have been a pro-life rally. And it was everybody there just to, for me, I was there to pray. I was there to pray, protest. We didn't agree with the vote, but the crowd was chanting USA. I jumped in with them. I mean, we're just, there was massive flags, probably, just a rough estimate, 100-foot by 200-foot flag that we're, 20, 30, 40, 50 people had to hold on to and going through the crowd. And people were making space for it was cheering on America. It was patriotic. We were there to honor our president, but also to protest that we didn't agree with what was going on.
Yeah, with the way the vote went down and all that.
Yes.
JP's got some pictures he's putting up on the screen right now, and you took these pictures too, am I right?
I did.
Yeah. And some of these are videos and all that. So, I mean, I see signs saying stop the steal, but was there anybody in there yelling down with the USA, let's overthrow the government? I mean, did you see any weapons? I mean, was it like that at all?
No, I didn't see any weapons. I saw a lot of riot gear. I saw quite a few bulletproof vests. A lot. Really?
Yes. People came suited up a little bit.
They came ready because they weren't sure what was going to happen as far as rioting, as far as the other riots that were going on that year.
Because of the way the BLM have been doing all that?
Yes.
So you don't think they were there like ready for their own riot? They were there in case things got ugly because of counter protesters?
Exactly.
All right. at some point, did you get to know other people in the crowd that you didn't know before?
I did. Yes. There was a couple of people that were getting close to us. Ashley Babbitt was one of them. My uncle Dennis talked to her more. I've even got a video with her talking in the background. She's talking to him. He was a Navy man. He was on a couple of submarines during the Cold War.
Yeah.
And but he was talking to her, and I talked with her for a little bit. I don't think I prayed with her, but I got to know her story, that she was from California. She was Air Force, and she said California was more red than the media makes it out to be.
It's amazing how much red is in California, but it's overwhelmed by these big cities like LA and Oakland and San Diego and all that. But well, so Ashley Babbitt, all right, we'll talk about her more in a minute. But she's one of the tragedies of the day, obviously. But before we get to that point, you're in this crowd, right? And this is the crowd that we've heard about. We've seen pictures of. Your pictures keep coming up on the screen periodically as we're talking for our live stream audience. Is there ever a time in the crowd where you personally felt threatened by the crowd? Was it scary to be there, or did you feel like you were among people of a like mind?
Not at the beginning. Before the speeches, I didn't, other than just, hey, this could erupt at any point because of the past riots. But before the speeches, I didn't feel much tension or nervousness. It was more patriotic. Let's cheer. Let's, hear, USA, USA. But after the speeches and the herd moved to the Capitol building, that's where I started feeling a little bit more tension. And there was you could hear a string of voices. Mike Pence didn't do it. Mike Pence didn't do it. Mike Pence didn't do it. And this was, I don't know the timing, maybe 11, 12 o'clock, something like that.
Yeah. And
then it's when it just felt a little.
You feel the tension in the crowd?
It felt different. And it was a little bit later on when nobody's cell phones were working. They were shut off. Whatever they were using, technology was shut off.
Wow.
So from the train to the White House, no cell phone signals, gone for everyone. But when the tensions changed after everybody was saying that Vice President Mike Pence didn't do it, that
meaning certify the vote.
Yes,
yeah,
correct.
He certified the vote. Yeah,
exactly. Everyone got a notification. Everybody's phone started alarms going off. And so nobody's phone is working. All of a sudden it goes off, and it says the National Guard is coming in.
Who said that?
The alert. So it was a national alert. It was emergency alert. First alert. Whatever system they were using for.
Hey, all you Rightside ruffians out there, you are listening to Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Just covering down on some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. Y'all, I'm talking about this show. This one, goes from like Huntsville back over to Chattanooga. I'm talking about from Tuscaloosa back over to Gadsden. All the way down to that loveliest little village on the plains that we call now, again, Fort Benning, and then big old patches of North Georgia and Mississippi all thrown in just for good measure. And then, oh, by the way, that's just the radio. Then there's all y'all in the whole wide world going to the World Wide Web. And yeah, like dialing in every day, live streaming the show, places like X, YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, our website, rightsidemedia.org. And then, oh, by the way, there's a bunch of podcasters out there who catch the show after the fact. Bottom line is this. Thank you. We appreciate you. We know you're out there, and y'all are what makes it worthwhile. So thank you very much for being a part of our lives. So first piece of breaking news I'm going to go with before I get into the dippers. There's a briefing going on right now at Fort Stewart, Georgia. Most of y'all know Fort U and this community, this Rightside ruffian community, are military-minded yourselves. A lot of green suiters, people out at the arsenal. Fort Stewart is down by Savannah, Georgia. That's the home of 3rd ID, 3rd Infantry Division. I have been there multiple times, jumped there, as a matter of fact, and then had family stationed there. Well, they had a live shooting today, and it happened in the 2nd Brigade Combat Team area which I believe is part of Third ID. I'm not positive. Right this very minute, Brigadier General John Lubas, who's the commanding general of Third ID, is speaking to the press. 5 known soldiers have been wounded in an active shooting, and it appears now they're saying that the suspect has been captured. He is a Sergeant Cornelius Radford, who's a 28-year active. How can you be a Sergeant E5 with 28-year-old? He's a 28-year-old. I thought he was 28 years of service. My gosh. Anyway, 28-year-old Sergeant E5 Cornelius Radford. I think it said, if I saw it right, has no combat history. Is that what it said? When they say that, I guess what they're trying to say is he's not having like combat PTSD moments or something. But anyway, all said and done, 5 soldiers injured. The suspect was another active duty E5 sergeant who has now been taken into custody, and they have issued the all clear at Fort Stewart. So if you have family and friends at Fort Stewart, especially if they're in the 2nd BCT area, you might want to check on them. If anybody hears something firsthand that's more detailed than what I just gave you, please let me know. It does appear, though, that the active shooter alert went out. They had a lockdown, and that the MPs and local law enforcement responded pretty quickly, and they had the entire thing cleared within an hour. So that's solid. Glad to hear it. Hoping the best for those that were wounded. And I hope they bring some justice to this guy and find out. They also said, by the way, they don't know his motivations. The motivations have not been made known at this point. Other piece of breaking news, total swift shift of gears, is Tennessee. Hey, all y'all in our Chattanooga audience, all y'all right now listening in the southern reaches of the Nashville region where our station reaches from Huntsville. All y'all need to know you've got probably now the next governor of Tennessee has just announced her campaign, and that would be U.S. Senator Marsha Blackburn. So, yep, it's been long suspected this was going to happen, but today she made it official. So Marsha Blackburn is absolutely running for governor of the volunteer state of Tennessee. Think about what that means. You're looking at Marsha Blackburn running in Tennessee. You're looking at Tommy Tuberville running here in Alabama. Those are 2 strong conservative Southern senators who are now leaving D.C., and I get it, to go be the chief executive of their home states. What is that doing, though, to the U.S. Senate? I got to say, I mean, I first of all, I love both of them. I look forward to both of them being governors, to be honest with you. I'm stoked about Tuberville, and I'm also stoked about Marsha Blackburn. I have never seen a vote from any of them or a comment or anything else that I looked at and thought, well, I wouldn't have done it that way, because they're always on the mark for as far as I can tell. I think they'll be good leaders. I think they'll be outspoken leaders. I think they'll be the kind of leaders that galvanize things and move things forward in a good, solid, right-leaning direction. I will say, I wonder what's going to happen with the U.S. Senate positions. Well, right now, I think the field is starting to fill out, and we have a great slate for Alabama to fill Tommy Tuberville's seat. Right now, our current Attorney General, Steve Marshall, former Navy SEAL and friend to Rightside, Jared Hudson. I know I'm forgetting somebody else. Who's running for U.S. Senate? Am I forgetting somebody? Who else is?
Well, looks like it's going to be Barry Moore, but no
that's right.
confirmation
That's
yet.
right. And then potentially Congressman Barry Moore, who has not officially made an endorsement or announcement, but he is being talked about.
Well, did you see that Jerry Carl today put up an upcoming major announcement? So people are suspecting that he's
Jerry Carl,
yes. They're going to, I say Jerry Moore.
Yeah, you said Jerry Carl.
Okay. Jerry Carl. Yeah. We'll be running it. People are suspecting he's going to run for Barry Moore's congressional seat. So I think that kind of adds to the belief that Barry Moore is going to run for Senate.
Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, in Congress, Barry Moore is far more conservative than Jerry Carl.
Yeah. Barry Moore, I think, actually has like the best scorecard, from those Liberty Institutes or whatever that did for in terms of his conservative voting record. I think it's like 93% or something.
Yeah, I mean,
Barry Moore is a very strong conservative.
Absolutely, as member of the Freedom Caucus, the whole thing.
Yeah.
So so end result is we're looking at 2 vacancies in the otherwise very slim majority right now in D.C. Now, both states are red states. I fully expect that both will be replaced with Republicans. We're not likely to lose the majority, but both of those are also leaders in the Senate and the Senate conservative caucuses, and so We will miss them in D.C., but I look forward to seeing Marsha Blackburn run for governor and Tommy Tuberville run for governor. And who knows, collaboratively speaking, sitting right next to each other, what can they get done? Who knows? They'll always have some turf wars, but they'll always be able to work together on the things that cross borders. There are others, by the way, that are believed to be running for governor. So I don't think this is the last of the flight out of D.C. that we're going to see. I think there's going to be a few more announcements coming up in recent weeks. I was talking to somebody recently in D.C. who gave me the heads up that we're likely to see maybe 2 to 3 more major announcements of known figures in D.C. exiting to take on the race for roles in their home states. Gonna be dynamic, y'all. Gonna be interesting. Politics always is. Let me get a few more text messages before I wrap this up for the moment. John from Brownsboro, going back to the monologue a moment ago about the speed of Trump. He says speed worked for Obama too. He had a scandal. He would deflect, throw someone as an admin under the bus, and then have a new one the next week. Just look at how he handled Benghazi. He blamed Hillary and then washed his hands of it in a couple of days. Yeah, it's speed in the wrong direction, but yeah, you're right. Jeff from Indiana says, "Hey Phil, I tell you what." He says, "Not on the air." I will check that out. Nope. It was actually Jeff was speculating on something about the shooter at Fort Stewart. No, Jeff, what we know right now is he is indeed another service member. And JT Lacey Springs says, "Speed of Trump. It's worthy to note. It's worthy to note that testicular injuries in women's sports are down significantly." You know, sometimes this audience, I'm telling you, y'all come host the show. I'm just going to hit JT. When are you going to host the show? We ought to give like a JT's quotes moment. Hey, by the way, before I go to the break, let me just remind you guys, tomorrow I will be out of the studio. I'm headed to New York City again for another appearance on CNN. Please do catch me. For those of you who are on Central Time, it's at 9 p.m., 10 p.m. Eastern, tomorrow night on CNN's News Night with Abby Phillip. And I will be on there as the conservative on the panel, I guess. Now, there's other Republicans the last time I was there, it was about an even spread, 3-3, I think. Although Anna Navarro from The View sat next to me on the panel, and she claims to be a Republican, and I've never heard a Republican sounding word come out of her mouth. So interesting, but we'll see. But tomorrow night I'll be in New York City, which means I'm flying tomorrow, back on Friday. So I should be here on the show. But tomorrow I'm pretty stoked for you. Listen, talk about a guy who's conservative to the core and a total hoot to be around. State Representative Ernie Yarbrough is going to come in and host the show tomorrow. Ernie is always he's like the Energizer Bunny, man. Once he gets going, you may have to force him to take breaks, JP.
Remind him there's a breaks on radio.
Gotta do a commercial, man. Gotta do a commercial. But yeah, Ernie Yarbrough will be here tomorrow. I look forward to that for y'all's benefit. And then coming up on Friday, I'll be back in studio, but Brian Dawson, who heads up 1819 News, will be in studio with me. So that's all good. In the meantime, JP, take me to a break, brother. We'll take that break right now. We'll come right back, and we're going to dive right into fighting idiocracy. And we're going to play this video. Those of y'all that are live streaming will see it. Those of you on radio will hear it, about what was just done in the last 6 months to fight idiocracy. It's amazing. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
To everybody's phone was the National Guard is coming in. It's time to disperse.
So I don't recall that. So at what point were you already at the Capitol building when,
yes.
when everybody got this notice on their phones
yes.
that the National Guard's coming?
Yes. And that could have been after the first person went into the Capitol. All
right. So let me ask you this before we go to the break. You can see how radio flies by. I mean, we're talking and I just looked over and realized it's almost time for a break already. Real quickly before we go to the break, was there ever a time during the speeches where you felt like you were being told to go do something destructive or rioting at the, did any of the speakers, including President Trump, did they ever say to you, get on down there and tear something up, get on down there and interrupt government? Did that ever happen?
No, not at all. It felt completely peaceful. Like, we're going to stand up for what we believe in. And I would say a third of the people probably couldn't make it up the steps if they wanted to. They were disabled veterans. They were just there to, support our president and say that we don't believe in the vote.
Wow. All right. This is fascinating to me. All right. We're taking a break right now. I've never had anybody sit here and tell me their firsthand experience of being there. So David Robinson's in studio with us right now. David Robinson was at January 6th. We're going to keep talking to him when we get back from the break. All right, so we're sitting back here in studio right now talking to David Robinson. He was there on the events of January 6th. He's a new member of the Rightside team. He's going to be doing sales with us. And we just got a chance to sit down together and just sort of go through all the details of what he's going to be doing with sales. But at the same time, you know, I learned as we're getting to know each other most recently that, oh, by the way, he was there January 6th. And I thought, well, by golly, I've been wanting to do a summary of that event because the pardons are still pretty fresh. And in my opinion, we're watching all the Russia collusion stuff fall apart. We're seeing all the other narratives coming out of the Biden administration era that obviously weren't grounded in truth and were designed in some ways to undermine or at the very least to weaponize. And I think, you know what? I don't think we're through here in the end of, hopefully, the end of accountability for what was done to people because of the day of January 6th. Were there some things that happened that were wrong? Yes, there were. Was all 1,500 people deserving of having their lives upended? Was it worth turning the entire FBI inward on this whole case and setting aside investigations that were more prescient and timely and in need of attention? No. And I look at all of this and think, my gosh. And then the liberal media just beat us up for years over it. And then you had the whole Adam Kinzinger, Liz Cheney betrayal, leaving the Republicans behind to go ahead and join the Nancy Pelosi Jan 6 commission. The whole thing was just a debacle. That being said, David Robinson's right here with me.
Yes,
he was there. All right. So David, let me ask you, the speeches are concluded and there's this sort of human wave of walking down the street. I mean, was it like watching a zombie movie where they come running in a pack, or was it those people walking orderly down there? What was the deal?
They were walking orderly. It wasn't like I know I mentioned herd. It wasn't like The Walking Dead or anything like that as far as a herd, but it was people helping people get there because there was a lot of disabled vets, because I talked to a lot of them.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot of people in wheelchairs. You got a lot of people a lot of flags. And it was a peaceful walk from the Washington Monument, the White House, where everybody was gathered, to the Capitol building. And there was
there security? Did you see security typically you would see the Capitol Police and the Park Police and others, you know, be out in a presence around the area, setting up barricades and, you know, wearing uniform. Were you seeing any of that anywhere? Was that just like gone?
Gone. I didn't hardly see any security. Probably, I'm sure there was around President Trump's stage. I'm sure the security was huge there.
Secret Service at the very least. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But when I got off the train early that morning, I only saw 2, maybe 3 guards at the Treasury. When they're always there, but no police, 0 police.
Wow.
And they know, because if you're tracking phones, you're tracking possibly 1 million people coming to DC.
Yeah.
Around every, every decision maker for the country right there in one spot at one time, and you've got 1 million people, and there's no security presence for hours. I didn't see a single guard except for at the Treasury.
Of course, the National Guard never showed up, but you got an alert. And who issued the alert? Do you have any idea?
I'm not sure.
Is it like an EMA kind of thing?
Yes, that's what it seemed like.
Wow. All right. So you guys, in mass, are walking towards the U.S. Capitol from the mall. So you're walking from the Washington Monument straight down to the Capitol. And then how long was the walk for you, like getting there? What do you think?
20 minutes.
Okay, 20 minutes.
Something like, because there's a lot of people.
Oh, that's right. There's a lot of people in the length of the mall too.
Yes.
All right. So you get down there to the Capitol building. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative, just plain right. Just making common sense like a superpower. Pulling pins on truth grenades. That's what we're doing. Bulletproof influence. Yes, sir. All right. So real quickly before I go into the content I've got for Dipper 1, JP just found the mugshot. This is the mugshot of the shooter at Fort Stewart. So the mugshot is of Army Sergeant Quor, that's Q-U-O-R, Cornelius Radford. He did not use a military weapon, says the post that I'm looking at. All 5 soldiers that were shot are in stable condition, although 3 of them had to undergo surgery of some kind. And I did see one report up on the screens a moment ago. I think CNN reported it, that other soldiers intervened and tackled him and held him down while authorities, came in. Wow. All right. So anyway, there's the guy. He made E5. So, I'd like to think he wasn't too much of a screw up along the way, but nonetheless, you got a guy, he's got a beard though. And I know that some black people do have a shaving profile issue, but I'm looking at a guy right now with a full beard. And I thought we got rid of the beard shaving profile issue that Higgs says they were back to more disciplined shaving. Anyway, all that to say, they've got the guy, and 5 people shot, other soldiers intervened. It was not a military weapon. That's all we know right now. Let me jump on this content. So I gave my monologue, if you heard it earlier, about life at the speed of Trump. That's what I called it. By the way, the Right Side Way monologue is always available on the website. So if you go to rightsidemedia.org and go to the live tab where we live stream the show, all the resources, like when you hear me rattling paper, all the resource links and a copy of the monologue is there for you if you want to see it. So that monologue, I talked about life at the speed of Trump, the things he is doing in the last 6 months, the effort he is making to very quickly undo the leftist, wokest, progressive policies that the Biden era saw ushered in. Well, what kicked this off for me was a video that the Trump administration itself put out. And by the way, it's not like propaganda. It's not like it's literally the messaging. All they're doing is saying, he said this, he did this. He said this, he did this. It's about a minute and a half long-ish, thereabouts. So here's what we're about to do. We're about to play it. Those of y'all on radio will hear it. Those who are live streaming the show will see it. Take a listen to this as terms of fighting idiocracy. Go, man.
A new executive order to cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content onto the shoulders of our children.
He signed an executive order this week prohibiting federal funding of the indoctrination of our children, including radical gender ideology and critical race theory in the classroom.
We're going to stop the destructive and divisive diversity, equity, and inclusion mandates.
This is about reforming the system of hiring in the federal government to ensure that merit is the lodestar of hiring decisions.
Our country is going to be based on merit again. We're going to bust up the censorship regime and bring back free speech again.
This next item is a directive to the federal government ordering the restoration of freedom of speech and preventing government censorship of free speech going forward.
And I will sign executive orders to end child sexual mutilation.
President Trump issued an executive order that prohibits the use of federal funds to fund the mutilation of children.
Men playing in women's sports is insane. I will get rid of it fast.
UPenn agrees to follow President Trump's mandate and ban transgender women from female sports teams.
I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg. And those are just woke policies, by the way. That's just things like DEI, transgenderism, Title IX in schools, all that. That's just the woke policies. That doesn't even take into account where we are now with foreign policy, where we are now with the U.S. military, where we are now with things like our energy sector, where we are with the economy. It's been a blinding level of speed. The left is just sitting around going, they don't know what to do. In fact, I will say this, the only thing the left has got right now as a plan is to simply go, not Trump. That's their plan. Not Trump. Tell me who the leader of the left is. Who's the leader of the Democrat Party? Anybody know? Thank you. Tell me what the standing policies are to take the country in another direction of the left. Do you hear them? I don't either. Tell me what the legislative agenda items are for the leftist members of Congress or the Senate. You mean they don't have one? Okay. Wow. Who are they going to put up to run for president in 2028? That's where they are right now. Now, there are some Democrats out there that I think are a little bit scary in the way that Republicans should be concerned about. I think of Josh Shapiro. I think of Andy Bashir. I even think of Rahm Emanuel.
Gavin Newsom and AOC are my top two.
Yeah, I know they are.
100%.
But I'm not worried about them is what I'm saying. I think Gavin Newsom is like a meme factory, and AOC, I hope she does take a leadership role, because that's just like one favorite soundbite after another.
I think right now it'll be a Newsom-Vance presidential campaign or race next year.
Oh, I thought you were saying Vance.
No. I think Newsom will win the Democrat primary, and I think Vance right now is the Republican.
I think it's very likely. But even still, I think Newsom's got a lot of trouble even in his own state.
No, but like obviously to us, we see Newsom and we're like, come on. But he's a fantastic liar, and I think he's going to be able to captivate a lot of the left with his lies.
But right now, if you look around, there is nobody truly serving as a leader for the left. There are people trying to assert themselves, but you just don't have a rallying cry by anybody. We're gonna wind up taking a break in a minute. I'll come back and kind of wrap this up, but I've got a few other examples, and these are ones that you may look at and go, "Oh, I didn't even see that was happening." Because one of the things that's most interesting about things moving at the speed of Trump is it's not just the big ticket items. He's in the weeds. In fact, what's amazing is I look at this and think, okay, for the 4 years that he was not in office, in which he was having to defend himself in courts all over the land, attacks on his businesses, attacks on his character, but during a time when he was literally, one of the most persecuted people in the world, getting shot at and then almost shot at again. During all of this, apparently, he was putting together a plan, because there ain't no way you walk in the door and make it up as you go along. There was an effort when they got in to go boom, 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 and start hitting things in rapid fire. And that speed of Trump is part of the plan. But I think they had an agenda list. But that agenda list, y'all, it even goes down in the weeds on things that most people aren't even paying attention to. Things like, I don't know, this story I've got here from Daily Caller, Dateline yesterday about the way banks treat conservatives. All this and more coming up after the break. But y'all, listen, speed of Trump, it's real. Grab that phrase and use it. It means something, because that's where we are right now. The world is having to react to it. Not just the nation. The world is having to react to the speed of Trump. Other foreign leaders are having to play catch up, because suddenly they've got somebody in a leadership position who's not going to wait around for them to figure out what they want to do or not do. We're moving right now, y'all, at the speed of Trump. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And is that when the signal came through on your phones about National Guard?
No, it was probably about an hour later. We kind of settled down. We actually went through a barricade. I didn't realize it at the time because a large group of people had already gone through. But it looked like a barricade that was set up for the inauguration.
Okay.
So they were just making it just looked like simple barricades.
It wasn't really slowing anybody down.
Exactly. No guards at it.
Oh, okay.
Maybe there was earlier when the first, group of people got there. Maybe, I don't know if they might have been 15 minutes ahead of me or 5.
You see anybody getting rowdy?
No, nobody getting rowdy. But it was a few megaphones getting some people stirred up. There was definitely some horns, some masks. There was a group of people with the different gear that was. There was actually a line of people walking through the crowd, and they were saying, "Follow us to go in." And this was after everyone was saying the vote wasn't certified by Vice President Mike Pence.
Okay.
So there was a line of guys and ladies, and I don't know, but they were marching.
Just in civilian clothes, just like, okay.
Well, civilian clothes and possibly riot gear, and there was definitely a guy with horns on his head.
Oh yeah, you saw the shaman.
Yes.
Yes. So there's some folks saying, "Come on, we're going inside, going inside." All
yes.
Right, so
exactly.
All right, that's a little that takes on a slightly different feel.
Yes.
What were you and your wife thinking at this point? I mean, you're looking at this going, I don't know about this.
I was looking at it like that. Yes. So let's keep our distance so we can see what's going on, but let's get ready to get out of here, because if this crowd starts packing in and we can't get out, it could get really bad.
Well, we're going to take a break right now. We're already at another break. We're going to come back from this break. And here's the thing. He was there that day, but you did leave before things got into madness, yes. Right? I say madness. It wasn't like total madness. There were a lot of people who walked around taking selfies inside the Capitol. but before people began going inside, you and your wife headed out. Am I right?
We did. Yep.
Yeah. All right. We'll take that when we get back. But we'll also talk about the aftermath. What's it like knowing that people everywhere are being hunted for a place that you were at? Having a fascinating conversation. I think it's fascinating. I hope some of y'all do too. I look back at January 6th and I think, good gosh, a day that has been like bandied about by the left as being like nearly the downfall of our entire country, like life as we knew it, like cats and dogs living together. I mean, it was chaos, apparently, according to the left. And yet, were there things that happened that were wrong? Yes. But was it madness? Was it one of those things that should go down in infamy? Not to the extent that they made it out to be, in my opinion. And it certainly was not an insurrection because there was no attempt to overthrow government. That's why nobody was charged with insurrection. That's the part of the kicker there. But I'm in studio right now with David Robinson. Let's spend just a couple more minutes here, David. And by the way, I got a question that I'll lead off with from one of the listeners, David at Bucky's. That's him. He's David at Bucky's.
Yes.
But David at Bucky's says, ask David Robinson, what was the purpose or the plan once they reached the Capitol? So you guys are leaving the speech area. You're walking the 20 minutes down to the Capitol building. What was everybody thinking was going to happen when they got there? I mean, what was the plan?
More speeches.
Okay.
So that as far as I know, that was the plan, would be more speeches and just have a peaceful protest of,
like stand there with the flags and
yes.
say we want it back.
Yes. Keep being patriotic and showing that we're here that we don't agree with the vote.
Okay. All right. And then you got there and tension began to rise. You and I were talking off the air about what it feels like when you can feel the mood of a crowd begin to change.
Yes.
And you did feel the mood of the crowd begin to change.
I did. When Vice President Mike Pence, when I kept hearing that over and over from people.
He certified the vote. I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. He didn't do it. That's what I heard. He didn't do it.
He didn't.
People were hoping that he would. He would. I don't know what that is.
He would not certify the vote.
Right.
Yeah, but he chose to.
Right.
All right. So that happened, and the mood of the crowd, the murmuring began.
Yes. Yes.
And then you said earlier you saw like a group of folks saying, "Follow us. We're going inside."
I did.
All right. Was Capitol Police anywhere around at this point?
Not at this point. There were a few you could see on the steps and around the border of the Capitol, and then maybe 15 minutes after I saw that line of people that were saying, let's go in, and they were pushing through the crowd. It felt like they were being a little bit more aggressive exactly than the rest of the crowd. And I don't know, maybe 5-10 minutes later, so I saw the smoke grenade. And
oh really?
Yes. And
was it tear gas or smoke? What was it?
I'm not sure. It wasn't close enough for me to tear up, but
yeah,
it was probably 200 yards away, probably a good 5-iron. But that was also maybe I need to, watch my back with my wife here and get ready to go.
Okay. Didn't you say during the break too, flashbang grenades?
I thought so. I heard the noise and saw the smoke. So it could have been from the gas, or it could have been two different things. But it felt to me like they were trying to deter that line of people that was saying, let's go in.
Now I know you've told me already that you actually left at this pretty soon around this time, but at what point did you decide it's time to go? When did you look at your wife and say, honey, we're out of here? Or
yes.
What's the story there?
I looked at my wife and my uncle and I was like, hey, do we need to go? Is this the cue? And after we got that alert from the emergency system about the National Guard, I'm like, I want to make sure the trains don't get shut down, because if it gets bad, they're going to shut the trains down. And that was not that I wouldn't have minded camping out in DC, for a couple of days protesting, but I don't know if I want my wife there in the middle of all that chaos. If it would have transpired like the rest of the year, 2020.
Did you know anybody that went inside?
I met a father and his daughter somewhere out Midwest. I'm not sure what city, but we met at the train station before getting on, and she was a teenager and they were peaceful. I'm not sure why they went in, but it felt like they acted like it was their American right to go in peacefully. I'm not sure if that's allowed during that day, or if that makes sense. As far
the videos the news showed us over and over again were people Some of them were doing things they didn't need to be doing, pushing back on police officers, forcing their way through doors. And then yet later on, 2 years later, when Tucker Carlson got all of the footage, we saw a lot of people having the doors opened for them like the guy, the shaman, was actually being escorted around to different rooms. And it's just the weirdest dynamic to see the actual true videos and go, wait a minute, I thought everybody was violent.
Right.
They're walking around taking selfies and laughing.
Yeah.
And some of them are taking selfies with the guards.
Right. Peaceful protest.
So I guess, one of my points in this, like the dude just said, solid conservative and just plain right. Welcome to hour number 2. Hour number 2 already. Where did hour number 1 even go? A couple of quick texts. So by the way, text lines are open. That's 833-687-4448. Got a brand new texter, Lionel from Athens. Lionel from Athens is an Army veteran himself. He says, U.S. Army posts have the tightest gun control policies. Yeah, they do, actually. It's crazy. He said, more stringent than any state in the Union. Imagine if soldiers were allowed to conceal carry. If they were allowed to conceal carry, that guy, the shooter, might be dead by now. Anyway.
But then it's like, what you said, the shooter didn't use any military.
No, he used a personal weapon, assuming he used a personal weapon. But yeah.
So I wonder how he got that in there.
I mean, you can get it in the gate unless they do a search of your vehicle.
Yeah.
And you can also register certain weapons depending upon, like, if you live on post, what do you do? So you have to just register them, which is still frustrating. I mean, these guys are trained to use weapons in warfare, but they're not allowed to just like carry it with them on post and have it in their house.
Yeah, I mean, and this is just another unfortunate example that gun laws just keep the guns out of the good guys, stop the bad guys. It doesn't stop the bad guys doing what they do.
Yeah,
so, like
absolutely.
I said, it's another unfortunate example.
Absolutely. Mark from Red Bay says, the speed of Trump reminds me of the Charlie Daniels song, Uneasy Rider. He said he's got them all out there stepping and fetching like their heads are on fire and their rear ends is catching. That's a great song, by the way. I hadn't heard that in a long time, but yes, thank you. You know what? That we almost ought to, if we wouldn't get blocked by YouTube, we ought to play it.
I mean, we could do it on radio. YouTube would have to be out.
Miss Charlie Daniels. Roy from Hartselle says, speed of Trump. I would wear that hat. Nice. We may have something here. Let me tell you about a couple of things that I've got in my hand. So if you heard the video / audio a moment ago, we played from the White House itself. There's a number of things that the Trump administration has done, just at blinding speed, going in and correcting woke policies. But then they get down into, like things that are happening and that they set aright in terms of like the economy or the energy sector or whatever. I found this story. I find it fascinating. It's a clear example that they are willing to get in the weeds. They're not just big ticket items. Daily Caller has a piece Dateline yesterday. I hold it in my calloused former paratrooper hands. It says the White House is preparing an executive order targeting banks that discriminate against customers based on their political views, according to the Wall Street Journal. Listen, that's been a thing. It's amazing to me that we've escaped it, but I tell you what, I shouldn't say that because we haven't had the problem because I know who I bank with. I literally chose banks for Rightside that I was not concerned with. Mostly local banking is all we do. But you've got some major banks out there, like there are accusations against Bank of America, accusations against JP Morgan Chase, that they have been debanking, which means just basically saying, leave us, take your money and go. You can no longer use your credit card. Your accounts are now frozen. You have 10 days to get your stuff out. Well, they've been doing that to conservatives. And it's been it goes back to the whole ESG, DEI, CRT timeframe that we were in. Well, Trump's saying no more. He's putting out an executive order directing officials to investigate whether any banks have violated federal law by canceling conservative customers. The Wall Street Journal reported, citing a draft copy that it obtained. Trump has yet to provide comment on it, but I think it's coming. Why do I say that? Because Trump himself was debanked at one point. And so he's had enough of it. Republican state attorneys general have also previously accused major financial firms of debanking, a term for canceling conservative customers over their viewpoints. It was a real deal. We had political enemies lists at banks. We had banks that were taking action against Christians. It's nuts. So that's happening. And oh, by the way, that's part of the speed of Trump. Then there's this one. Higher education. Wow. Higher education has never had anybody smack them around like what you're having in the last 6 months. They still don't know which way's up. They are so on the ropes. Higher ed has had their way for years. Higher ed's been like, we're higher ed. What are you going to do? How about this? No more federal dollars. Wait, what? That's you can hear the collective pucker factor as sphincters tightened up everywhere in higher education world. Exactly. But latest story off Fox, Dateline 5 days ago. Brown University, the Ivy League institution in Providence, Rhode Island, has agreed to shell out $50 million over a decade to state workforce development organizations as part of a deal it struck with the U.S. government, which has now agreed to restore grant funding and close its probes into the school. Says, congratulations. This is Trump, by the way. It's Trump on his Truth Social. Congratulations to Brown University on the settlement made with the United States government. There will be no more anti-Semitism or anti-Christian or anti-anything else. Woke is officially dead, all caps, at Brown. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I think he's having fun with that. Thank you to your attention to this matter now. I think he just cut and paste that onto everything he does. But Brown President Christina Paxson indicated the school did enter into the agreement voluntarily. You know what that means? They saw the handwriting on the wall, realized they were never going to get federal grants again, never going to get research opportunities, never going to get internships. They're going to be losing Pell Grant opportunities for their students, all of it, if they didn't get rid of their woke policies and stop allowing just absolute woke madness on their campus. By the way, one thing I want to point out, that $50 million is not being paid to the federal government. That's the thing. That's interesting too. The policies are being changed by virtue of the Trump administration, which is federal. But they mandated that they pay out to state workforce development organizations. In other words, it's almost like they found the charity of their choice and give it there. These are organizations that help people find jobs. So they told Ivy League, you're going to pay $50 million. We want you to pay it to this thing over here that helps blue collar folks find work. We want you to pay it over here to this thing that trains people to get schooled up in the trades. We want you to do something that you'll never get on an Ivy League campus. That's epic. Speed of Trump, man. How about this one? RFK Jr. What's he doing? Making people mad. Maha, baby. Make America healthy again. Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., according to the Daily Beast. Phil, did you go to the Daily Beast? I did. I go these places so you don't have to. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is reportedly set to remove all 16 members of a cancer screening HIV medication task force because he believes they're too woke. They are purging woke from the panels. This is sowing the weeds, y'all. This is not like we're changing this one giant policy and then we'll see what happens. No, they're like digging down into the minutia, digging down into the weeds, digging down into the very low bottom where the baby goats eat. They're down there doing stuff. Wall Street Journal reports on this past Friday that Health and Human Services Secretary RFK Jr. is planning to completely overhaul the U.S. Preventive Services Task Force. Well, this task force is filled up with doctors and nurses and public health experts, and they advise on things like, health measures and cancer screenings and yada, yada, yada. Okay, cool. What did they do? Well, it's unclear, it says, what drew Kennedy's ire, except that the Wall Street Journal does point out that a recent article in the American Conservative called attention to the task force's constant use of words like pregnant persons and structural racism and microaggressions in all of their recent publications. Yeah. So basically he's going in there going, okay, people, if you're going to be a doctor and be on one of my task forces, you're not going to talk about pregnant persons. No birthing persons in our mix here, please. Thank you. So they are all being given their orders. Last one I got. And this one's gonna make teachers unions like nationwide pop a vein. This one cracks me up. JP, you brace yourself. You ready?
I'm ready.
Oklahoma. So the speed of Trump, I think, has really caused the trickle-down effect is it causes state and locals to straighten their spines, right? State and local governments are like, well, yeah, because they know that this is something that is now acceptable. Oklahoma is going to be the first state to require teachers who are moving there from liberal-leaning states to take a test to show they align with Oklahoma's standards.
That's actually a really good idea.
It is a really good idea.
I wouldn't have thought about that.
And they're actually combining with Dennis Prager over at PragerU to come up with the test. So it's called the America First Test. It will have basic questions about American history, civics, and, quote, common sense.
Wait, you're telling me that teachers have to now pass enough they know basic civics? Is that the point that we're at here with teachers?
That is the point we're at.
That's so sad that we're at that point.
But here's what they're doing. Oklahoma is actually, you remember a while back when Ron DeSantis was recruiting police officers from around the nation? He said, look, if you're tired of working in places like Chicago and New York, come work in Florida. We'll pay you a bonus to move down here. And he was hiring, and police officers were moving in droves down to Florida. That's what Oklahoma's doing with teachers. Oklahoma put out an all call. They said, if you're in the top 10% of the teachers in your state and you want to move to Oklahoma, we'll give you $50,000. It's like, hey, come one, come all, as long as you're the best. But oh, by the way, when you get here, you're going to take a test.
I think the question number one on that test should be, what is a woman?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's probably in the common sense section.
Yeah, that needs to be on that test.
I feel certain that's you know what? I'm going to bet you money that's in there. It says, so we've seen teachers come from blue states, said Superintendent Ryan Walters, come from blue states and red states all over to come to Oklahoma. They're fleeing the teachers unions and the grips they've had on them. And he says they're even going to put the Bible back into their history standards. Interesting.
I think Oklahoma, too, is actually trying to pass a law. They may have passed it, actually. I think they did pass it, putting the 10 Commandments
in classrooms.
Yes.
I think I saw yesterday that it may have been enjoined by one of the courts. But Walters says one of the things we wanted to do is, first of all, make sure they're great teachers, right? And then number two, he says, we're making sure we're not getting woke and indoctrinating social justice warriors in our classrooms. More of that, please. Hey, Alabama, are y'all listening right now? Let's do a recruiting drive. We always talk about how we need more teachers. Okay, let's go out there and say, if you're among the best in your state right now, then we will take you here. First, you have to pass a test, and then we'll give you a signing bonus significant enough to entice you to come. I like it. I think this is awesome. And you know what? It's voluntary. If you're moving there to take the job and receive the bonus, then I think that one of the bona fide occupational qualifications can be, can you pass this test? It's subjective, but you know what? So is every interview. It's not going to ask you, are you pregnant? What color is your skin? It's not going to say what your identity politics are. It's just going to say, do you believe that a biological man can be a woman? It's going to say, things about civics, like, do you believe in the Electoral College? It's going to have things on there that I think are just like good to know that they care about as they walk in. Would you hang a rainbow flag in your classroom? Is that appropriate?
If Tommy came to you and said he wants to be called Lily, would you do it? And would you tell his parents?
Yeah. Listen, I want to see this test when it comes out. We need to keep our eyes open for it. Right now, we can keep our eyes open for a break. Take a break, JP. Take me to a break. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Coming right back, we're going to jump on into some blue crime. Oh, yeah, we are. Oh, yeah. Blue cities, blue states, blue crime. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. There are people who did some things they didn't need to be doing. Yeah. And some of them probably did some things that they need to go to jail for. But by God, 1,500 people didn't.
No.
That's me not having been there. All right. All right. So you guys left, but I got to ask you, the word got out that the FBI, this was like priority number one. There was no other mission in life for the FBI at that point that seemed to take precedent over this. And I'm talking about every field office was being tasked for what we know. The January 6th Commission was stood up. They were checking cell phone records to see whose numbers were bouncing off of cell phone towers. We're finding out stories about people who were arrested who were merely present and didn't even go inside. One of the guys who was jailed who wasn't even there that day, but they believed he was an inciter of people who were. Inciter. That being said, did you ever have any concerns about the FBI coming and knocking on your door?
I did, multiple times. I try to be low key as much as possible, but I didn't share anything really until today. As far as pictures and videos, this stuff that you're seeing, no one has seen other than if I showed them in person. But I was very low key about showing anybody, even friends and family, because if I show somebody, maybe they're going to be, tracked and traced and get their door knocked on by the FBI. I've got a family, 3 kids and a wife, and I want to provide for them and not be taken away for a year or years and leave them stranded. And yes, I was nervous multiple times, but they never contacted me, and I'm pretty sure I've got footage that no one's ever seen.
Well, that being said, you did find out later on that Ashley Babbitt was shot and killed that day.
Yes.
How was that, knowing that someone who you stood there and talked to was the only person who was actually killed on scene?
It broke my heart and made me feel grateful that we didn't go in. But it broke my heart. I mean, she was a serviceman and Air Force, and it didn't make any sense. But yes, she got riled up. I mean, she was at a protest, but was
she armed?
Not that I know of. No.
Yeah.
I believe there was a lot of people there that was armed that could have used their weapons if they wanted to. I don't, if I've been to a pro-life rally, I've been to the Tea Party rally, and I think I've seen 1 million people there. There was 1 million people there, and I would say half of them were carrying.
Yeah.
At this rally,
like Second Amendment carrying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But they were there. It was to protect themselves or protect the president. It wasn't for to riot.
Did you ever know anybody who wound up being questioned or even jailed in the aftermath of January 6th?
No.
Nobody you've run across that said, like, yeah, man, the FBI came knocking on my door and make sure you stay low key. I mean, nothing like that.
There's been a few. I've ran into more people recently because I've been a little bit more open about me being there. And so I have ran into a few that was there that day, maybe went inside. But I'm just now I'm just now telling people about it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a big deal to be able to just talk about it and be open about what's going on.
What are your thoughts? And we got about 2 or 3 minutes here, but what are your thoughts about, of course, you've heard me talk about it already. I don't want to poison the well, so to speak. I imagine you've got your own thoughts about the way the January 6th Commission handled things, the way the media handled things. In your opinion, was the narrative that was being put out the same as the narrative you saw that day?
No, not even close.
Okay.
No.
So, how so?
It was a peaceful protest. There was, with that many people, they could have taken over whatever they wanted. Honestly, if that's what their intentions were. Their intentions were to be there to support our country, to be patriotic, and to say we don't believe in the vote, the count, but not to instill violence. That was never. I never had that feeling there from everyone that I was around. Yeah, people were stirred up. There was guys climbing trees so they could get a better view of Trump or to hear better early in the morning before we went to the Capitol. But they were just boys. They were just stirred up and needed to do something because we were waiting, and they've been there so early. But there was nothing that said, "Hey, we're going to go in here and create violence on the people that are making decisions for our country."
Yeah. Well, it's a narrative I hope never gets repeated.
Right.
I don't care which side. I don't care who's in charge. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Man, giving you all the truth you can slap on a bumper sticker. Okay, so I'm jumping into Dipper number 2 right now, blue crime. Wait, we're going to talk about something. You know what? I am going to take a moment of personal privilege.
Go ahead.
We got flagged by YouTube. I did not know this. JP showed me. Tell him, JP.
Well, so yesterday we had on David Robinson, who was at the J6 protest, and we just did an interview with him, talked about what he saw and how some of what he saw is not really aligned with what the mainstream media was telling about the event. anyways, live stream goes up on YouTube, and then we get a little notice. We didn't get blocked or anything, so there's that. However, they felt the need YouTube to put a little notice at the bottom as like a little fact check.
You got it up on our live stream screen right now.
So it's from Wikipedia, but it says this on January 6, 2021, the United States Capitol in Washington D.C. was attacked by a mob of supporters of President Donald Trump in an attempted self-coup 2 months after his defeat in the 2020 presidential election.
Self-coup.
Yeah.
A self-coup?
Yeah.
Wikipedia says that?
It does.
But they also now who posted that? Is that something that was posted by a viewer?
YouTube.
Or is that something YouTube itself posted that?
Yeah, so YouTube went through, and actually I posted I isolated the interview with David and put it up, and YouTube, before he posts anything, does like a check. And so during the checks, they saw that and flag it. Let's put a fact check there so that the viewers won't be misled by this
we might
guy.
get more viewers out of that.
Yeah, it's like it's just like one of those lame that Meta used to do with their fact checkers. It's like,
oh my god,
just so you're not dissuaded or filled with lies from this misinformation, we're gonna put a little flag of what actually happened, and then you can go forward and watch it.
Unbelievable. So if you missed it, you want to go back and watch it because it was really, really good. But David Robinson is new on the sales team at Rightside, helping sell ads and that kind of stuff. And so if you're interested, by the way, we can connect y'all. But David Robinson was at the January 6th events at the Capitol, and he had some pretty distinct memories. And, he talked about it at length. And we had him on the show probably, 30, 45 minutes, I guess, total time.
I think it was 33 minutes, the full interview with him.
Yeah, really, really good. I'd never talked to somebody at length who was actually there. Anyway, we posted, and YouTube just wants to make sure you understand this was a really, really scary event.
If they just simply told the facts of like, hey, there was a protest on January 6th in DC, but the attempted self-coup, it's like, really?
Attempted self-coup. Wikipedia can be modified by people who go on there and click, get their keyboard courage up and change history, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that YouTube uses Wikipedia as its source is very telling to me.
Yeah.
That's lazy. I'll never forget one time being in a debate on the floor of the Senate, and one of the Democrats came up there and started talking to me and said, now, I'm looking at it, and right here on Wikipedia it says, and I said, are you quoting to me from Wikipedia? Well, yes. And I just, what do you do?
We weren't allowed to use Wikipedia as a source in school.
You can't.
We actually, our English teachers did not allow us to use Wikipedia.
Well, you shouldn't be allowed to use it. The only thing Wikipedia is good for is to give you indications of things you might want to go look up to see if they're true.
Yeah.
It's a rumor mill.
Exactly.
It's like the source where you can go and find out maybe what day somebody was born. That's about as good as it
yeah,
goes.
like biographies and stuff are good, except for like this is big in the sports world. If a team loses, they'll change like the bio of a coach to say he's the son of the coach that beat him. Stuff like that happens all the time on Wikipedia. So maybe biographies aren't even that reliable. But yeah, I found that funny.
That is just wacky. All right, we're taking a break. We're coming right back. We're switching gears. Blue crime will start after the break. Phil Williams, well, not blue crime starting after the break, but talking about it will. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. If somebody screws up and does something wrong, they deserve the accountability. And some of the ones who committed violent acts did not get pardons, and that's just going to be the way it is. But I hope we never see again the level of weaponization of government against people who merely showed up. That to me was the egregious. The fact that you had to wait several years before you felt like you could even tell your story in public kind of says a lot. You know what I'm saying?
It does.
Well, David Robinson, man, it's been great to get a chance to hang out with you for a bit. Thank you for telling us your story. Thanks for letting us be the first one to hear it. And blessings on you and your family. Hey, go sell some ads for Rightside. How about that?
That's right. Let's get it done.
David didn't leave yet. He's got a mission in life, and we got to help him fulfill this. David, there is somebody very important you need to talk to real quick. You're on the air, brother. Say it. What do you got?
Shout out to my wife, Elizabeth. She was there with me January 6th. She's a hard worker, a great mom, and she's the love of my life.
Well, there you go. All right. We just saved you from a world of whooping when you got home. And I got to ask you, though, while you're here, I got one question I meant to. JP even said during the break, we should have asked him, and I meant to. There's a lot of talk about where they're, for lack of a better term, where they're feds in the crowd, where they're plainclothes people in the crowd that were sort of in the mix and maybe even sort of helping incite people to move on down. Did you see anybody in the crowd you look at and go, were there feds? Is what I'm trying to say.
There was a couple of people that I was there. It seemed like they were on a job. They weren't there for a protest. They were there working. They were just a little bit more conscientious of what was going on, looking
heads
around,
on a swivel, looking around.
Yes, and then probably inciting things. It just kind of seemed like, hey, they're, all of a sudden, this one person that wasn't saying anything or doing anything, now they're, leading a line, or they're yelling, let's they're getting it going, getting riled up or something.
So some of the ones you thought were feds, you looked like they were leading people to the door.
Possibly.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. There was that one guy we always hear about, Ray Epps. You see a lot of news stories about him. I don't know anything about him. I don't know whether he's a Fed or not, but he had some crazy, suspicious. Have you been back to the Capitol since those days? Have you been back to DC?
I don't know. I don't remember. No, I don't think I have.
Well, it's to me, it's one of my favorite places.
Yes.
I mean, I really do believe that the U.S. Capitol is a special place.
Yes.
I mean, in the Capitol, not all of D.C. When I was at the Pentagon, I used to go for long walks and jogs around the mall area, and just think about how much this history is in this place.
Yes.
And how it's changed the world. At the same time, it is not a golden calf.
Right.
It's not. America is not the building. It's the notion of who we are. And it's the rights that we have in the Constitution. But that being said, DC is still a special place. Looking back on it, are you glad you went that day, or would you not go if you knew what you know now?
I'm glad I went, because I didn't want anything else to steer my thoughts of that day.
Yeah.
As far as any media, any news coverage, I wanted it to be my own. And what I saw is what I saw, and there's no, there's nothing that can try to, say, hey, it wasn't a million people. It was. Because we heard stories the next day that it was only 100,000. That's not even close.
Yeah. Well, scripturally speaking, Acts chapter 4, Peter and John are told to quit talking in the name of Jesus, and Peter's answer was, I cannot stop speaking what I've seen and heard.
That's right.
And meaning, man has his own story. Nobody can take that away from him. And granted, that's about faith, but I think it applies to other things. You were there.
Yes.
You know what you saw, you know what you heard, and no one can take that away from you.
That's good. DC holds a special place. I spent many days and nights there just walking around praying. I believe there was a David's tent used to be there 24/7.
Conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Covering down on some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. Y'all, I'm talking about this show. This one, goes from like Huntsville back over to Chattanooga. I'm talking about Tuscaloosa back over to Gadsden. All the way down to that lovely little village on the plains that we once again call Auburn's called. Hang on a second. I lost my train of thought. I just got sidetracked. I'm in the middle of my diatribe.
Were you looking at something else while talking?
I did. Yeah. I looked over and I happened to catch some words on the screen and I got lost. That's awful. By the way, I do that without notes. So it's not like I'm reading it out loud.
Yeah, it's all in the dome.
Okay. Down to Auburn, across to Fort Benning, North Georgia, Mississippi. All y'all. We love you. That's what I do.
That's all needs to be said.
I know. Bottom line is we love our audience. And that's what I always try to tell everybody. We know exactly where you are. And I have this way of saying it, but dang. Okay. That's what happens when you're a multitasker.
We'll forgive you.
Thank you very much. Hey, I'm in number 2 of the Triple Dipper right now, blue crime. What am I talking about? Well, there's a story that broke yesterday that I'll get to momentarily that got Donald Trump, President Trump, inflamed. And rightfully so, by the way. Even Elon Musk, he and Elon are together on this one. Maybe one day they'll get together for dinner again. But first, before I do that, I'll go to this. Fox News has a piece that came out yesterday. Hold it in again, my calloused former paratrooper hands. It says, U.S. crime rate has dropped widely in 2024, the FBI says, with some notable caveats. So the FBI does an annual. It's not like they just did this because they're trying to do something in the Trump administration. This was literally something they do every year. It's called the Unified Crime Report. It's released by the Bureau every year. And despite the overwhelmingly positive findings, there were some sobering things, it says. But one thing that it does point out is we are seeing a lot of trends in a good direction. Violent crime decreased by 4.5% nationwide. We got in 2024, the U.S. saw a nearly 15% decline in murder and manslaughter rates, except for Birmingham, which was awful, although Birmingham has apparently gotten better lately. The U.S. saw a 5.2% decrease in rapes, 3% decrease in aggravated assaults. Property crime dropped by roughly 8%, a big decline compared to 2023, which saw a much smaller 2.4% decrease. Burglaries down 8.6%. Motor vehicle theft dropped by a whopping 18%. And then hate crimes, which I didn't know were a separate category, but hate crimes also saw a small decline. But there were some things that were not good. Apparently, there was a major uptick in assaults on law enforcement. Yeah, go figure. But yeah, reported attacks and assaults, including aggravated and simple assault offenses, saw a 10-year high. That's interesting. What that may also mean, though, is the police have been allowed to interdict more in certain places, which results in a diminishing of crime, and yet that puts the police into more dangerous positions. That's a good report, but when you isolate it into certain locales, you still wind up getting really frustrated. And one of the frustrating things that we've got right now is a story that broke yesterday. Some of y'all may remember when Doge was in full swing, right? Elon Musk is in DC. The Doge had full staff. They were combing through every department's stuff, weeding through the books. And there were certain Doge members who didn't want their names to be known because they would be doxxed. Well, one of the guys went by a nickname. They called him Big Balls. So just go with me here. But that was his nickname. His real name is I think Edward Korestein. So Edward Korestein was this young kind of dynamic, and he's not like this big stud linebacker who played football somewhere. He's just just a regular looking guy, young. I want to say he was like 19, 20 years old. 19, yeah. But his nickname was Big Balls, which is the way he hid, his identity until I think he was actually outed by liberals. Anyway, yesterday he was beat up on the street, but not because he was an innocent victim. It was because he was stopping an attack on an innocent victim. So yeah, Edward Korestein, the former Doge employee, Trump wrote, was mercilessly beaten by local thugs. He apparently was trying to intervene when a gang was harassing a young woman. And Trump is now in the picture. By the way, if you've seen the picture, have you got the picture? Can you put it up?
I mean, I can put it up if you want, but I mean, it's pretty. You're talking about the
kind of graphic.
Picture,
yeah, he's bloody and all, but you know what? It's real. If you want to put it up, you're welcome to it. I'm fine with that. But Trump took major issue with this, and well, he should, because here you got a young guy who felt the need to have to intervene because a gang of thugs was harassing a young woman. He jumps in, they beat him down on the street. Well, you had like 14 of them, I think. I mean, it was an awful situation. But the kid, Edward Korestein, who worked in Doge, Trump says, this incredible young man and so many others would not have to go through the horrors of this violent crime. If this continues, he said, I'm going to exert my powers and federalize this city and make America great again. Keep in mind, Washington, D.C. is the District of Columbia. It is a separate locale. It does have a mayor. It does have governance. But he's saying right now, if you don't get your crime under control, I'm going to federalize it. Keep in mind, we also had another young member of congressional staff who was killed on the street near the Capitol. We had another that was stabbed, I believe. We've had assaults on police officers. This is the nation's capital. And Elon Musk weighed in. He said a few days ago, a gang of about a dozen young men tried to assault a woman in her car at night, and a Doge team member saw what was happening. He ran to defend her and was severely beaten to the point of concussion, but he did save her. And then Musk himself says it's time to federalize D.C. Blue crime, blue cities. when you have soft on crime policies, when you have weak politics, when you have people in charge who could care less about the well-being of citizens, they seem to care more about the criminals than they do about the victims. You look at it and go, okay, is there any wonder why the crime rates in certain locations don't trend in the right direction? One of the things that's also galvanized the nation in recent weeks, actually the recent week, is the situation that took place in Cincinnati. You had a large group of thugs, men and women, who attacked two other people on the street. It does appear to have been racial. So since it appears to have been a race-based incident, I'll go ahead and tell you the gang of folks were black and the ones who were attacked were white. They first started beating down a white guy in the street, knocked him down. He tried to get back up. They knocked him down more. They're kicking. They're hollering at him. Somebody's filming it because they always do. And then a woman tries to intervene and they literally, I've seen the video. It's horrible. One guy steps up and punches her in the face, knocks her out cold. If you haven't seen the picture of her with her injuries, it is sobering. The entire side of her face is swollen. She has swelling on the brain, had a concussion. You looking up her image right now too? But that occurred in Cincinnati. One of the things that is the most egregious, I think like 8 people have been arrested so far. So that's good. They're tracking them down. One of them got out of Cincinnati. They arrested him and he's now in detention in Atlanta. So he went to another locale where leftist politics make it easy to hide, but they got him. But then you look at what are the reasons why these blue cities are the way they are. Maybe it's the leader. Oh, there's the picture. Thank you for putting that up. And that's, I mean, listen, bless her heart. That's awful. I mean, she was severely beaten. And she's got a recovery time still to go on this. But in Cincinnati, after that beatdown in the street, after this viral beatdown, News Nation has the story. I pulled it off of theirs. News Nation has a story about the Cincinnati councilwoman, who I think is actually the president of the council. Her name is Mika Owens. And Mika decides to get on her social media and say, they begged for that beatdown. What an asinine thing to say. What an absolutely inexcusable thing for any leader to say.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
And she enjoyed watching it.
She said that too?
Are you referring to the comments she made on Facebook?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I think before that she said something about how she enjoyed watching it. I can pull up the exact
Good
comment.
Gosh.
But yeah.
Saying they beg for the beat. Well, at the very least, I will say this. There is talk right now about whether she's going to be called upon to resign. I guarantee you she won't. In fact, she's shown no remorse, if I understand. But Mika Owens is part of the problem. Mika Owens is one of the reasons why you've got gangs beating people up in the streets of your city. When you've got that little respect for the rule of law and law and order, then is there any wonder why Cincinnati has this problem that made national news? Did you find it?
Yeah, so Victoria Parks was the councilwoman who commented and said they begged.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, said they begged for that beatdown. I'm grateful for the whole story. That's what she said.
That's what she said. I'm sorry. Mika Owens is calling on Victoria Parks to resign. Let me get my facts straight. I apologize. All right. So Cincinnati council member Mika Owens believes that the resignation of Victoria Parks is called for. So I'm sorry, Mika. I did not mean to disgrace your name. There you have it. But let's talk about some things in other places. Blue crime. Y'all, blue crime is real. When blue cities have the policies they have, then you have things like what happened yesterday. Daily Wire has the piece. An arsonist attacked an Immigrations and Customs Enforcement office in Washington State over the weekend, throwing a rock through a window and then lighting a fire on the property. The unidentified arsonist targeted the ice field office in Yakima, Washington, about 140 miles away from Seattle. Federal agents and the DHS employees managed to escape without injury. DHS Secretary Tricia McLaughlin slammed the Democrat politicians for all of their incendiary rhetoric against ICE agents, accusing them of contributing to the surge in violence against federal law enforcement. I mean, that's what you see. You got Hakeem Jeffries. You got Mayor Wu of Boston. You got, of course, Tampon Timmy Waltz, governor of Minnesota. You got Mayor Bass of Los Angeles. All of them coming out constantly comparing our ICE agents to like Nazi Gestapo and glorifying the rioters, and the violent rhetoric of, sanctuary politicians is exactly what creates situations like someone feeling so emboldened and so inflamed, no pun intended, that they go and throw a rock through the window and try to set a building on fire while there's employees still inside it. That's a blue city area right there. It's inexcusable, and it's got to stop. But I'll tell you right now, it's literally it's everywhere. Blue cities are seeing the literal consequences of their policies. Boston's awful. Boston, Mayor Wu, good Lord. That woman, I'm telling you right now.
It sucks because Boston's such a great city.
Boston's an awesome city.
Like literally one of the core cities from the beginning of our country. And it's turning into what it is.
I mean, Boston's been there. I mean, Boston's the OG city right there. Yep. It really is. Boston City Council meeting in October 2024, Beacon Hill residents said they had not seen this much illegal drug use in Beacon Hill. So Beacon Hill is an upscale but yet historic section of Boston. It's where the homes are 200 plus years old, and it's one of those, like they're like row houses, like a lot you see like in Washington D.C. and others. But we're talking about one mother talking about how she has to walk her children to school and there's needles in the street, and we're talking about in a place where the average home is like $2.3 million. And yet it's gotten so bad in Boston. I mean, they've got, they're doing needle exchanges. They're giving out free crack pipes. They're trying to do things to, help people smoke crack and methamphetamine in a more harm reduction manner. And what do? What they really do is they create more of the issue. And these soft on crime, social justice, we're going to take care of the victims or the criminals policy leaves the victims in the wake. And right now, you've got even some of the higher class neighborhoods in Boston are saying, we got addicts shooting up in the street in front of our house, and they don't know what else to do about it because the liberal blue policies refuse to change. I tell you what, I'll take a break right now. I've got several more here, but my gosh, blue crime, it's real. Blue crime, well, it's crime in the blue areas. That's what it is. But it's also a crime that blue crime has to happen. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Arrest. There's 50 little girls in their wake before they're prosecuted, not before they're arrested. You have individuals that are arrested, they're going out, and they continue to, offend in this way. But when they're prosecuted, we find out there's about 50 in their wake. That's the statistic. For every individual showing up for a little boy, there's 150 victims in their wake until they're prosecuted. So our goal is to make sure that we don't just get the arrest. That's physical apprehension. That's the most fun part. That's, to kidnap a predator. That's the best thing ever. It would be nice to say report to the parking lot for the firing squad. Kill people for less, right?
Bring back stoning.
That's what I'm talking about. I'll be the first one to hit him in the head with my tomahawk. I mean, that'd be great. So we want to do it effectively. So you have to get a successful prosecution. And so that's the other aspect of what we do with Covenant Rescue Group. We work with a law enforcement agency. We work with the prosecutor's office to hit those two aspects of law enforcement in our nation, which is physical apprehension and then successful prosecution. Because if you don't, it's symbolism without substance. And that's what our organization does.
So several things that y'all may have gotten. And by the way, this is not planned. We're just bouncing stuff off each other. But I heard several things in there. One, they do it at no cost. That means it's a mission. It's not a business. It's a mission. And number two, it's knowing all the facts and figures of what he's citing. So this is something they've steeped themselves in to go and do it. And the other thing I heard you say was you go and you train them how to do it and you teach them that it works.
Yeah.
And then they can do it again after you leave.
That's the goal, is to work ourselves out of a job. That's the end goal.
Which is a great job for politicians too, by the way.
Work themselves out of a job.
That's right.
Exactly. I heard some guys say you need to change politicians as often as you change diapers. And I thought that was pretty good.
That'd be awesome. All right, listen, we're gonna, unless you got something else you want to chime in on, we're gonna go to questions. All right, you good? All right, let's do it. Emily, you got them all? Okay, we're gonna do questions. You want to hand them to me one at a time, or you want to just go grab a few? You ain't do what? There's one. Oh, there's more right here.
Dang, y'all got a stack of questions.
Thank you. There's another one. Oh, dude, we got you a bunch of questions here. All right. All right. So listen, we don't have all night. I will go ahead and take the hit if your question is not one of the ones that I call out. All right. He has no say in this, but I gotta guard the fact that the church has to close its doors at some point tonight. Let me start with the first ones. Let's see here what I got. Let's see here. This is by the way, on my show, I'm reading out people's text messages all the time. More than once, I have been halfway through reading it and gone, so give me a second. I don't want to in church, all right? So, all right, here's one for you. You ready? That was almost like my show. I'm rattling the paper. All right. I hold it in my calloused former paratrooper hands. As a U.S. Senator, how will you work to reinforce recent executive orders that restrict federal funding to schools and libraries based upon their use of DEI, sexually explicit books, gender confusion ideology, all aimed at children? So basically, how will you help the Trump administration to reinforce what is currently just an executive order?
Yeah, so I mean, I think we've all seen this over the last, probably 4 presidency, going all the way back to Obama. We see presidents that try to rule with executive, orders, and you can't do that, right? You can't rule with executive orders because as soon as Obama was done, Trump got in, he's undoing stuff and putting new stuff in. And then as soon as Trump's done and Biden gets in, what's he doing? He's undoing what Trump did and now Trump's back in. And so he's undoing and redoing. And it's a constant thing. It's this constant back and forth we see in the bureaucracy of government of all of these shifts being made. You cannot rule. Our nation was not set up. You talked about the principles earlier. The principles of our nation was not set up to rule by executive order. Now, the executive is an important position. You talked about the Federalists and the non-Federalists. The Federalists wanted a strong executive, right? With that being said, you can't rule by executive order. You have to have congressmen and senators. You have to have a legislative branch that's in place. You have to have a judicial branch that's in place that can, one, help codify and make sure that we're codifying things that are constitutionally sound. And in my opinion, is to remove the finger of government, the red tape of government off of we the people, because again, we're the kings and queens of this nation. And by the way, who's heard freedom ain't free? Raise your hand if you've heard that. It's paid for with somebody else's blood, but more importantly, there is a responsibility for your freedom. There is a responsibility for your liberty. I am not of the
And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative, just plain right, just making common sense like a superpower. Hey, let me go down the last couple of resources here on the number 2 dipper here, blue crime. So I mean, California, my gosh, they're like the model. They're the poster child of all things blue crime. You can look at some of the things they did out there, and you think, well, do you have any wonder why all the major businesses and the store owners are shutting down in San Francisco and leaving town? Like San Francisco right now, they're saying that San Francisco, no kidding, is what they call a doom loop. A doom loop. It's like the perpetual motion machine going in the opposite direction. It's like the cascading effect of one thing closes, which reduces revenue and traffic. So the next thing closes, which reduces more revenue and traffic in the inside. And pretty soon, nobody wants to be downtown. And then the businesses who have no place for their people to have lunch because the restaurants all closed down, move their employees out and put them somewhere else outside the city limits. And next thing you know, downtown San Francisco is in what they call the doom loop. It's not good. It's all about the policies they put in place. Do you know out in California, in San Francisco especially, they passed a law that literally says that if you steal from a store, but you steal less than $1,000, it's not actionable. So
I saw a video this week of like 15 teenagers running into a gas station, just taking all of the food, and the guy at the counter called the cops, and they couldn't do anything. Says if it's not a violent crime, sorry.
Yeah, not a violent crime and less than $1,000.
Yeah.
I mean, it's when you, and then you wonder why the stores are shutting down, because $1,000 here, $1,000 there. How about this? They have people. I read an article on this. they know what they're doing, and they have people that sit across the street, and they'll pay the junkie to go over there and take less than $1,000 worth of stuff, bring it back across the street. I'll pay you $50 for it. You can go buy your next fix. And meanwhile, I'll put all this on the black market and I'll sell it for a profit. And that's what they're doing.
And then it's such a strict gun law state. There's no good. Yeah. Well, I don't even know if it's the gun. I mean, I know California has good people, but it's like the people in LA would just rather watch it happen or film it.
But they got any number of ordinances and city, run. They got Prop 47. Prop 47 in California fueled crime. It was called Smart Justice. Smart Justice. Reducing prison overcrowding by downgrading nonviolent felonies like shoplifting and drug possession and theft under $950. There it is. Prop 47. What it did was it gave criminals what they call a playbook. They kept it under $950 and they walked free. And that's why you've got things falling apart in those blue cities. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's also right here at home. I wrote a piece that came out this week on 1819 News, and it's already making out into other news sites. And I called it, common sense. It's like the era of common sense, the common sense revolution. And I talked about Birmingham. And Birmingham wonders why its crime rate has been what it's been. But Birmingham has a mayor that is doing things like mass pardons dating back to 1992. Anyone ever been convicted of a drug charge in the city? Hey, mass pardon. What does that do? That sends a signal. It creates a chilling effect for law enforcement. Why would I bother arresting somebody? I'll just get turned out in the street. Why should I? And so it creates this incredible soft on crime sense that the criminals have the upper hand. He not only did that, he was also talking about social justice programs and looking at how best to reimagine public safety by sending this is Mayor Randall Woodfin of Birmingham, by the way, to send out counselors on 911 calls. And when I wrote the article, by the way, I had one of his sycophants take issue with me on social media, but I linked to all the stories quoting him. I didn't just make it up out of thin air.
Yeah, you were endorsing Wanda Lincoln with that article.
Oh yeah, sure I was. Yeah, that's what I'll do. That woman's crazy. But yeah, Mayor Randall Woodfin, when the state legislature finally said Birmingham's gotten so bad that, look, sort of like Trump said about Washington D.C., they said, look, we're coming in there and we're fixing your police. We're going to replace your police leadership. Of course, what did he do? Woodfin opposed it. All said and done, blue crime, it's real. It's blue policies. That's what does it. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Coming up next, we got the Grand Council with Dale Jackson and Jeff Poore and just little old me. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The independent mindset of everybody can just do whatever they want. No, there's always going to be a reaction to what you're doing. There is a responsibility that's there, and that's on us to make sure that we're responsible with the liberties that we have. And as a U.S. Senator, I think the best thing you can do is work to codify those executive orders that are best in line with the Constitution, that uphold our American values, the values of a democratic republic. That's our principles. We're a democratic republic, so that we don't have this back and forth. So as soon as Trump's gone and somebody else gets in there, they're trying to change it up on executive order. Otherwise, we plant a tree, and about the time it grows, we cut it down. We plant a tree, and about the time it starts growing, we cut it down. The wise person plants trees knowing they'll never sit in the shade. The goal is to plant a tree that's able to grow and produce fruit for our kids and our grandkids, and that's what I would do as U.S. Senator, make sure that we codify those good executive orders that uphold constitutional American values that best support we the people.
The wise person plants a tree knowing they'll never sit in the shade.
That's right. They'll never sit in the shade.
I'm going to just go ahead and go write that one down. All right. So that was good. Seriously. All right. You have an educated audience, by the way. All right. So some of these questions are like, whew.
Hang on, man.
I'm saying. Just go ahead and strap it on, bro. All right. So with regards to illegal immigration, do you believe in the mass deportation of all illegal immigrants? How do you envision that happening? And how would you change the current legal immigration process, such as H-1B visas, et cetera? So let's talk about illegal immigration. First of all, do you agree with the mass deportation program that the Trump administration is underway?
I do, yeah. For the most part, I agree with the mass deportation program. With that being said, because of where we're at, you have immigrants that are here illegally, but they have a life. They have kids that have been born here. although illegally for them, and we run into a little bit more of a problem with their kids. I think the best way to look at it is let's, on the mass deportation program, which is what they're actively trying to do, and it's a little more difficult, find those illegal criminals that have come across, not just criminals because they're here illegally. They're criminals because they are running roughshod over the people of their communities. Kind of like y'all saw the guys in Colorado that were taking over the apartment complexes. Let's knock that out first. One of the biggest issues that I think we have as conservatives, I know that I have, is that I just want to, let's knock it all out and we're done. But we don't chop a tree down that way. And CQB, when I teach CQB, we say, and CQB is close quarters battle. It's clearance, right? I got my law enforcement friend in the back shaking his head. He's like, oh, yeah, I know what you mean. And we say, CQB is like eating an elephant. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So when I show up to this big church to respond to an active shooter, I'm not thinking about the entire clearance. I'm thinking about the piece of the clearance that's right here in front of me, this open space that I've got to clear. I'm thinking about presenting to my corner and doing my scans, looking for people's spaces, doors, right? That is how we do it. It's the same thing with illegal immigration and deportation. We can't think of the whole problem because it's an elephant. It's too big to eat. We have to chip away at the elephant one bite at a time. The place we have to start chipping away at are those truly wicked individuals, not people who are living their regular everyday lives here in America, but those criminals that are adding to the criminal element of our society. Go after those first, go through that process, and then start working down the line from there, because there's a lot of people who you could probably take through the legal immigration process, and they would be great members of our society. Every person in this room, I guarantee you've got a cleaner that cleans your house. I guarantee you've had somebody build your house or do sheetrock in your house. You've had somebody do something for you. And by the way, that's called labor trafficking. You have all been a part of labor trafficking, human trafficking. That being said, were you afraid of those people? No. A lot of them become our friends. So I think helping those who need help and can contribute to our society as Americans and will be American citizens in this country, not those who are bringing a criminal onslaught from whatever country they're coming from, or trying to elevate their country like what we see. You see the American flag being pulled down and they'll raise a Mexican flag, or they'll raise the Palestinian flag. We got to get rid of that sort of stuff. We're in America. We need American values, because American values is what our country is founded on. That's what we, the people, stand on. Doesn't mean that you go out and round up every illegal that's here and ship them across the border. It's a little more complex than that. I guess that's the easiest way I can answer that in a lot of words.
Well, you answered about half of the next card already.
Good.
So let me ask you one question that was written at the bottom of the card, though. Jared, when elected, how many terms will you serve?
Oh, that's a great. So I learned from my friend Gary Palmer that I'm never going to say how many terms I would or wouldn't serve. But I will tell you this, and I'll tell you why. This is what I've learned. If let's say our Alabama senators, right? Let's say it's me and Katie Britt. If we were to sign a pledge to say we're going to be here for 2 terms, but nobody else does, you're going to have a bunch of Mitch McConnells that are in there till they die in office. And it's going to be bad for the state of Alabama, because we're always going to be at the bottom of the rung with how the system currently works, right? With that being said, I would be more than happy to sponsor a bill that says, hey, for Senate, it doesn't matter the amount of terms. I think 2 terms is reasonable. Heck, I would even go 3 terms. Let's just get some amount of terms in there. Let's sponsor a bill for senators to serve a certain amount of terms and congressmen to serve a certain amount of terms. And if everybody would sign that same piece of paper, I would do whatever number they want. If they all would sign one for 1 Senate term, let's do it, because this is not a job that I desire for political elevation. It's a job I desire for service. But it's got to be equal across the board for every state, because it doesn't positively impact Alabama if we have a congressman that says, hey, I only want to be here for 3 terms, and then they just bounce out. And I hate to say it, Gary Palmer, that's what he said. He said, I said something, Proverbs 19:2, zeal without knowledge causes you to miss the mark. He said, I said something that sounded good at the front end, but I didn't realize how it would negatively impact Alabama on the back end. So that's what we have to understand as the voter as well. We have to educate ourselves on that. If everybody would do it across the board, hey, let's knock it out. Let's do 1 term, 2 terms, 3 terms, whatever it is. But if everybody's not doing it across the board, leverage your politicians, leverage a guy like me. Hey, We need term limits. We 100% need term limits. I can tell you right now, my wife, she probably don't want me to stay up there longer than one term. I mean, the Senate term's 6 years. That's a long time, y'all. 6 years is a long time. So anyway, that's my answer.
In Montgomery in the state Senate, I was one of the few that would sign on to term limit bills. There was like a thing every year. We dropped a term limit bill, and me and 2 or 3 others were always one.
Just said solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, welcome to hour number 3 on Hump Day. And you know the deal. We always start the show on Hump Day by hearing from the camel, but then we hit hour number 3. That means it's time for the Grand Council. So let me just jump on into the Grand Council, where I bring in 2 of my brethren in talk radio and call the roll to see if we have a quorum. So turning my eyes to the north, sitting up there at WVNN, Cumulus Broadcasting, 770 AM, 92.5 FM, host of the Dale Jackson Show, also does a gig with Yellowhammer and has a TV thing, allegedly. Dale Jackson, are you there?
Oh,
you are indeed.
You've been on the TV thing. Why you say allegedly? Come on now.
I don't know. I like it's fun. Okay, so turning my eyes southward, down yonder on the Gulf of America coastline, that would be host of the Jeff Poor Show on FM Talk 106.5, editor-in-chief of 1819 News, and, oh, by the way, does a lot of things like Breitbart and Lanyap and other stuff, too. Jeff Poor, are you there?
I'm present.
You are indeed, and we're glad. And you're on vacation, and you're still here, so we appreciate it doubly. All right. I pronounce a quorum. Hit it, JP.
Assemble the Grand Council.
Yeah. All right, because Jeff Poor chose to call in during his vacation, which is like doubly appreciated, I'm going to let him go first. Jeff, what you got, man?
It sounds like the Howard Stern show is getting canceled from satellite radio.
Wow.
Sounds like the latest victim of the Trump derangement syndrome starting to show some fatalities here after Stephen Colbert. Who's next?
Well, I mean, we just saw The View went on quote unquote hiatus, but we don't have any word about what that really means yet. But I think The View is about to be done. And then what was it? Joy Reid? She's already gone. I don't know, man, but I think MSNBC might be gone as a network. That's what I'm starting to wonder about. Dale, what do you think, man?
I think they're spinning off MSNBC. So my guess would be somebody with a lot of money and no desire for, well, not no desire, but less of a profit motive is interested in that. I think the next big thing is you're going to see even more of ESPN's more political stuff get tamped down. They've already kind of dropped some of it, but it looks like they're getting ready to expand their offerings in the form of sports. They got the NFL, the WWE, and stuff like that. Recently, but they're big name personalities. I think they'll trim some of those guys who won't stop being political.
Well, Stephen A was actually, like, his contract says he could be political, right?
Yeah, but he's a different animal. That's different than their other shows, and their other shows don't do very well. Stephen A. Smith is a juggernaut.
He is a force unto his own. All right, so Jeff, I mean, I'm speculating that The View is gone for good, but what are your thoughts? Your own question. What's gone? What's leaving?
I mean, well, it's kind of, I guess what I was kind of more going for was more like less news and media, more pop culture celebrities. I think they gotta, like, for Hollywood to be profitable. And I mean, these movies aren't doing as well as they used to do. They gotta start toning down the political stuff. And so watch some of these A-listers that they become a little less outspoken just because the dollars and cents are gonna make them.
Well, and I think you're going to start looking at contract actions. I think you're going to start seeing if if the entire cast of all the Marvel Avengers movies wants to get online and endorse Kamala Harris like they did, all except Chris Pratt, thank you very much. Then I think you're going to start seeing contracts specifying that they won't be outspoken about political events and they have to volunteer because it's a First Amendment issue. But I think you're going to see people getting contract actions that say curtail your speech. Any further thoughts on that, Dale, chiming in?
No, I think Jeff's right. I mean, Hollywood's always going to try to slowly lurch to the left. The Sydney Sweeney thing is probably a little bit of an eye-opener for them. They tried to combat it with, oh, yeah, well, look at this great ad with Beyonce. And it's like, all right, cool. Nobody should be upset about that except for maybe Megyn Kelly for some weird reason. But, I mean, I guess they're going that path. But, yeah, maybe that's it.
All right, next question. Take it, Dale. What do you got?
All right, Jabari Peoples. Now the video has been seen by the family, and of course, not good enough is the refrain that we expected to hear from the family, which means, of course, it is exactly as was described the first go round by the police. The shooting in Homewood Alabama, where an individual who they're referring to, and let me see if I understand this, the DA referred to him as a good boy who has done a bad thing. And that's not an exact quote, but I'll tell you, good boys don't go for the gun when you're busted for weed. Why are we doing that? Why are we pretending? And has there been a better thing for police in the last 40 years that I've been alive than the cameras, automatic cameras everywhere?
Oh,
is that not the best thing that's ever happened to them?
Yeah, that's like a game changer. It's become, you can have a YouTube channel just on nothing but body cam videos.
Oh, they exist.
They do. I know. I've seen some of them.
They're out there.
But I will say this: we had a pool going here in the Rightside studio as to whether or not the first question was going to be Dale with Jabari Peoples. But you
is that true?
You did not disappoint.
Good for you guys. Good for you guys.
So, yeah, I looked at it. I saw the article earlier, and I looked at it earlier, and I saw the thing. And the first thing I saw was the activist attorney. What's his name? Crum. Who's working for the family. First thing he says was, this was an edited Aaliyah video. We want actual justice. I'm thinking, stop it, man. You're nothing but, you're a panderer. Let this family grieve and move on. But he's trying to fan the flames, and I'm not buying it. But anyway, Jeff, weigh in. What you got, bud?
I still think they're angling for a settlement from the city of Homewood, get something out of it. That's why you hear this kind of showboating, Ben Crump attorneying. So that's, but clearly with Danny Carr, so what he said about being a good kid or whatever, he's just playing to a Democratic base in Jefferson County.
Yeah,
sure.
It wasn't worth it. He could have stopped right there, but he had to go and say good kid, bad thing. So ain't worth it. All right, let me take this question before we go to the break. So Marsha Blackburn announced today that she's running for governor of Tennessee. Not unexpected, but yet it hadn't been official until today. So now you've got Marsha Blackburn running in Tennessee. You've got, of course, Tuberville running here in Alabama. We're watching some of what I would consider to be some of the staunchest and most outspoken conservatives in the U.S. Senate leaving to go do other things. Of course, Mark Green already left the House to just retire. Are we seeing an exodus, and do we have hope that we'll replace them with the right kind of folks, if you will? Dale, you first.
Well, in Tennessee, what they're going to do is Marsha Blackburn's going to win that thing. She has 82% approval rating amongst the base and the primary voters, and then she's going to get to appoint her own successor, which may be Dale Jackson. I don't know. But the fact is, I think she'll replace herself with someone who's like-minded. And I think that's going to be that. There's also Nancy Mace in South Carolina, Tommy Tuberville, and all these guys. And I don't think there's any doubt that we'll send similar like-minded people back. I'm not concerned about that at all. I think they just decided it's easier to be at home. If you're 70 years old, Nancy Mace is a little different. But Tuberville and Marsha, both Marsha Blackburn are in their 70s, are close, and they probably want to be around grandkids. And, Tuberville wants to be close to the beach.
Okay, Jeff, what are you thinking?
No, I think, I would add this, though. There's probably some truth to that, but Marsha Blackburn and Tommy Tuberville were never going to be high-ranking members of the United States Senate. They just never were. They were always kind of backbenchers, more ideological, made for TV, made for cable news type of U.S. senators. And it's an uphill fight. You got to go raise money for the party, and you got to Katie Britt it up to get. So it just, I think you see that exodus because of just the way, the nature of the beast of Washington, D.C.
Yeah, and I tell you what, I think too that they also realize in the era post-COVID how much impact a governor can, like a chief executive can have. They're watching Trump do it at the federal level, and I think there's also some indication that I can be one of 100 and not have a major committee chairmanship, or I can go home, live in my home state, and I can be the one of one who can help drive the train on things that I really care about. And I think there's some ideological stance on this as well. I mean, I really do. All right. That was easy. That was uncontroversial. And Dale Jackson did not disappoint. He went with Jabari Peoples. So, all right, we're taking round one. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, Grand Council with Jeff Poor, Dale Jackson, and myself. Round two coming up. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. What I call the baseball rule, 3 and out. So
that's not a bad rule.
No, it's not. All right, next card.
Jared, what measures will you take to ensure transparency and accountability in government?
Well, that's good. I don't know what measures a senator can take other than just getting in front of y'all and saying, hey, this is what we're doing, or this is what I've done. I would say that there's a fine line. Somebody, my campaign manager back there listening to me, is going to get mad when I say this, right? We got the Epstein thing going on right now. And everybody's like, oh, the government's not transparent with it. There's a fine line between things that you have to be transparent with and things that you can't be transparent with. And I will go ahead and tell you this, and some of the stuff is already starting to come out. There's a reason that they didn't release any of the Epstein stuff, because there's more. It's like the old Paul Harvey thing I used to listen to with my granddaddy when we go to Trade Day up in Collinsville, Alabama. When I was a kid, we'd be right back here. And that's the rest of the story, right? Well, there's still the rest of the story to be told. There's more there, and you can't release certain stuff. Now, why do people have, big mouths and maybe they say, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to release this? I don't know, all right? Each individual, everybody messes up. But what I do know is that transparency in government is good unless it negatively impacts the justice that government is required to serve on behalf of the king, on behalf of we the people. So I guess that's a politician's way of answering that question. I'm all for transparency, but as long as it doesn't negatively impact the justice that our government is trying to serve. I mean, it'd be transparent to say, yeah, we're flying these planes over to Iran to drop a bomb on them because they got a nuke. But it would be really stupid to say that, right? And I guess that's what I'm getting at, making sure that our transparency doesn't negatively impact our ability to do the jobs that government should be doing.
All right. Maybe an easier question, more personal. Was it worth it becoming a Navy SEAL?
It was, yeah. I mean, it's just that straightforward and simple. It was worth it becoming a Navy SEAL. Even my wife, she misses the community. We're still tied to the community. It was worth it.
All right. Speaking of which, though, let me ask you this. This is not one of the cards. I can think of Ryan Zinke, Tim Sheehy, Dan Crenshaw. I know I'm forgetting somebody else that was a team guy.
Eli Crane, Derek Van Orden, Morgan Luttrell.
There's an entire SEAL team.
Buddy of mine, I won't say his name because I don't know if he's going to announce yet, but he's in Kentucky. They're looking at having him run against some guy in Kentucky, the Massey fellow in Kentucky.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a team guy looking at that.
So how many of them do you know that are currently serving now, and have you talked to them?
I've talked to all of them, and I know all of them. Yeah. So, yep.
Any of them tell you, don't do it?
No, they don't. I mean, they get it, they get it. They just say LLTB, bro. Y'all are RTLW. Yeah, or Ranger Lead the Way, RLTW. We're LLTB, Long Live the Brotherhood. That's the SEAL team, so that's all they say. LLTB, bro.
It's gonna be a SEAL team mafia up there in DC. I can tell you right now.
Maybe we get to really kill somebody. That's bad. That's bad. That's bad. A bad person.
That was a line from an Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, that's right.
But they were all bad.
True lies.
Yeah, true lies. This is all right. Dance on this one for a minute. All right. Do you believe the growing Muslim influence in America is a problem? If so, is there anything that can be done in the constitutional boundaries? Come to a church, they ask the questions.
No, I mean that's a good question. Is the growing Muslim problem? Look at Michigan. I mean, y'all can look up the videos, and I would ask you to tell me what you think. I would say what I've seen in Dearborn, Michigan, is a problem. Is it a problem here in Birmingham, Alabama? Well, I know a guy that I was actually helping look for not too long, a couple years ago now, that was killed by a Muslim because that guy was a Christian, and he killed him because he was a Muslim. And that could be one-off, that could be just one-off guy in Birmingham. I don't know, but I say look at it and make that decision for yourself. My estimation is not nationwide, but in quite a few parts of this nation, it is starting to become a problem. Yes, but I wouldn't say nationally. As far as the Constitution is concerned, I don't know if there's anything that the U.S. Constitution can. I don't know how that can positively impact that, unless, of course, they're raining on somebody else's right to life, liberty, and we say pursuit of happiness. John Locke said life, liberty, and property. But so if they reign on somebody else's right to life, liberty, and property, or life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative, just plain right. Man, saving the world one soundbite at a time. All right, so we're going back to round 2 of the Grand Council with Jeff Poore and Dale Jackson. Round 2, first question, Jeff Poore, what you got?
Texas redistricting.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of watching it from afar. I haven't been plugged in, but man, these guys want us to care a lot more than I think the public's got the juice to care about.
I think the story became the Democrats running away. It's like a scene from a Monty Python movie, run away, run away. I think that, and what really kills me is they're doing stuff like talk about beating their chest about how brave they are, taking a stand, and it's nuts. They even went so far, the runaway Democrats, to post one of their replies that said, "Come and take it," which is attributed to the 300 Spartans who stood in the face of the Persian army and didn't run away. I know the whole thing is nuts. The only question I have out of this, though, is it going to create a gerrymandering war? Is Texas going to succeed, which their constitution allows them to, and then other states start looking at their constitutions in California and New York, try to draw their lines even worse than they already are? I could see that being a thing, a big thing. Dale?
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely going to start a war where people draw lines and all these other things. And excuse me, the New York Times had a story out not too long ago where they said Democrats are kind of screwed on this if this does go that way, because they themselves have already gerrymandered a lot of states.
Yeah,
so they have a hard time doing it. I mean, the bigger question on this is, what are they doing to gerrymander Terry Sewell and Shamari Figures out of their districts? I mean, let's go. If you want to play the game, let's go. It's either good for everyone or good for no one. And if they're going to do it, write those guys out.
Well, and the Supreme Court is talking about taking up the Louisiana versus Marseille case, which is going to be something that determines a lot, to include whether Alabama can go back and draw its lines again, because the question of race should or should not be considered. I think this is the fight of the future. I mean, I really think that, the narrow margins we constantly see in the House and the Senate, there's only one way to break that right now, and somebody has identified that as being redistricting. Your own question, Jeff. What are you thinking?
No, I think there's some truth to the redistricting when it comes to Democrat states, because they've already redistricted the hell out of their districts. The problem is, a lot of red states still have hanging over their head the Voting Rights Act of 1965, the sins of the last century that we're still paying for in red states. I mean, that's the only thing that's keeping this, because it's Constitution 101. It's a delegated authority to the state legislatures to draw lines for congressional representation. Elections have consequences. You put these state lawmakers in their state capitals, and they're going to do what they do. And if you don't like it, vote new ones in. But we don't have that kind of system. We have all these protections and things like that. And until we get past VRA, if we ever do, then I don't know. It's going to be hard to see this as being a net win-win.
Yeah, that's why I'm wondering what's going to happen if the court takes up that Louisiana case. I mean, right now, look at the thing we just had with Alabama. I said some of the same things you just said. I said yesterday too, that what we're looking at here is the Voting Rights Act is overstayed its welcome. And yet we were told you can't use race. And then we were told you didn't use race enough. And now we have Shamari Figures. So the whole thing is asinine. I think the Louisiana case could be the game changer if that really goes down that road. Next question, Dale, what do you got?
All right. This may be, you guys probably not like this, but I'm going to talk about Epstein. Was that on the poll too? Because I will tell you, I like the idea that they're subpoenaing Jeff Sessions and every attorney general of the last 20 years, Hillary and Bill Clinton, Robert Mueller for some reason. I'm fine with this. But why don't they just tack on 2016? Because there seems like there's a lot of overlap in this.
Well, right now, CNN's talking about Epstein, too. I mean, they're up on the screen in my studio. They're having an Epstein strategy dinner, which is now in flux because there's been too much coverage about the meal. I mean, it's ridiculous. By the way, what is the connection with Jeff Sessions? What is the connection that they believe? I guess because he was the Attorney General of the United States. Yeah. Okay. So it's not all right. Is it going away? The Dems don't want it to go away. It's all they've got to talk about, even though the reality is it may wind up working worse for them if it all comes out. I think the bigger story is what's happening with Ghislaine Maxwell. Jeff?
No, I mean, I think such a small fraction of people really care about this. I mean, am I wrong? Like, I'm entertained by it. I'm intrigued by it. But I don't think this is moving any polling. I think this is just straight up sort of media concoction. And
I don't agree with that.
Talk about conspiracy theories. I don't think it's Twitter is not the real world, Senator. I just don't think this doesn't have the juice it once had.
Yeah, that was Dale saying he doesn't agree with that. But I am right down. I am right down in the. I'm in the place where I'm with you. I'm fascinated by the story to a degree. Except that I don't think it's the story the left wants it to be. And,
I agree with that.
And it's also getting so overplayed right now. Now, the part that bothers me is there are kid victims out there who are never going to get justice. And that bugs the crap out of me. But I also understand as an attorney, you just can't throw everybody's name out in the public arena and have guilt by implication. And so they're in a real conundrum about what they can release and what they can't, a lot of which is still bound up by a court in New York on a gag order. But all right, Dale, cap it off. What do you think about it?
Well, I think that people are fascinated, like you just said. I think it's beyond politics, and I think it weakens Trump's base a little bit with the people who are convinced that Donald Trump was going to show us where the UFOs are, show us who killed JFK and MLK, and produce a list of this. And some of those people think that the common denominator is the Jews, obviously. So you have a lot of that where people did not get what they wanted here. And I think they're still digging. And I think a lot of those people are Trump supporters.
Well, and I also think there's always going to be single issue voters who came into it with one thing they wanted, just one thing. And if they don't get the one thing, the world can't go down.
They need 5 people that are not going to vote for Trump because of Epstein.
And that's, I can't. I don't think there's, I don't think it's going to be
This doesn't move the needle, guys. This is fun to talk about. But at the end of the day, it's not like you're going to have a defection to the Democratic Party because Donald Trump's not releasing stupid Epstein files.
And I agree with that. I think that's exactly right. I think by the time the election gets here, it's not going to be the issue.
But if you chip away at trust, and that's what this is about, chipping away at trust, that's what it's about.
Ever since Trump came down the escalator.
That's true. That's true. As long as he's Teflon, he's good, except for that time in 2000 when he lost the election, or 2020 when he lost.
Is this where they're getting?
Yes, that's right. Well, I had a whole nother question I was going to ask, but now I'm out of time. All right. Appreciate you both. Enjoy your vacation, Jeff. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. You guys stay tuned. Last half hour on Hump Day coming up. We'll be right back.
I think then we could deal with it at a federal level. I think it's more local. Y'all talking about it earlier, with local politics. I think that's the most important place to positively impact those sort of negative things that we're seeing in some of these areas around the nation.
Show them Jesus. That's it.
That is something that going all the way back to the Civil War. That's something that Robert E. Lee said. Robert E. Lee was a Christian man, and he didn't have slaves. And his wife got in trouble for teaching slaves how to read, right? He didn't believe it, but he believed that it was a better place for them to be if they could hear the gospel of Christ. That's what he said. Now, we know we fought a war over it. We know a lot of issues come up. I'm not saying that slavery is a good thing. That's not what I'm getting at. But what I'm saying is, as a Christian man, that's what he leaned on when it, dealt with slavery. I think we should lean on the same thing when it deals with, especially extreme Islam or the Muslim religion growing at a mass rate here in the U.S. It gives us the opportunity to share our faith with them, because it's not me that changes your heart and your mind. It's the Holy Spirit. It's Jesus Christ that changes you, and he can change them. He's changing Muslims all over the world. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I'm about to say, how much time do we have? So that's what I was going to do, was 1 or 2, depending on how long it takes. Okay, great. Well, we're sitting in a church right now that was not afraid to have a political discussion. and you've already commented on it several times. I'm going to ask you one more question because it was handed to me on the card. There's been a recent Supreme Court ruling that they very likely would never lose a 501c3 status for that. But here's the question for you. Do you think churches, and it's phrased this way, do you think churches will start giving guidance on candidates or endorsing them? Do you think that will happen? And I'm going to go ahead and change it slightly and say, do you think that's advisable? Your thoughts?
I'm gonna upset somebody else again when I say this. When I was
cut the live stream.
Yeah, cut the live stream. I sat across from a black pastor in a black church when I was running for Jefferson County Sheriff.
Right.
And down in Jefferson County, Alabama in 2022. My only involvement in politics, that's what kept me involved here because I almost beat the incumbent Democrat. I lost by like 1.5 points. And that's what kept me at the forefront of even being considered or asked to do what I'm doing now. That man sat across from me, pastor of a large church. He said, "Son, you're a Navy SEAL, right?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Well, then you know what mercenaries are." I said, "Yes, sir, I do." And he said, "We're the mercenaries of the political movement here in Jefferson County." Talking about black churches, they endorse them. He told me, he said, "If you give me $50,000, I'll make sure that our congregation gets out and votes for you. We'll run buses." I said, I should have recorded the whole conversation. I sat there and I said, "Well, sir, why don't you ask God who to vote for and do what he says. It don't matter how much or how little I give you, you do what he says." And I walked out. It's been done for years. That's the first thing I would say. It's been done for years. Oftentimes, though, we have let our Christianity become a vice. And what did I'm trying to think of the best way to say it. Well, Churchill said, I'll say what Churchill said. You can't negotiate with a tiger when your head's in its mouth. And I would say that's our biggest problem with churches, with growing up with a dad that's a pastor and seeing the ivory tower of the evangelical church. We think we can negotiate with a tiger when our head's in its mouth. You can't do it. You have to realize that I've either got to kill this tiger or I've at least got to get my head out of its mouth. And I'm hoping that, especially what I'm hearing here tonight and seeing churches move that way, that we realize that we have to present politics from the pulpit. On the other side, politicians, you have to present your faith from politics or in your position as a politician. It's important. Jesus says, if you don't declare me before men, I won't declare you before my Father in heaven. He's already told us that we need to declare him. And it's the most important thing. It's the only thing that's eternal. So to give you encouragement out here, you don't separate politics, religion, and sports like we always have heard. No, all of those things go together. And the reason religion is the most important, and I call it relationship because it's a relationship with Jesus, is because it's the only thing that
radio is solid, conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Just covering down on some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. Y'all, I'm talking about this show. This show. I mean, it goes like from Huntsville back over to Chattanooga. Talk about from Tuscaloosa back over to Gadsden. I mean, all the way down to that loveliest little village on the plains we call Auburn's right across the line to there, what we call once again Fort Benning. And then big old patches in North Georgia and Mississippi all thrown in just for the good measure. And that is just the radio. And then there's all y'all out there in the whole wide world going to the World Wide Web live streaming the show. Like looking into the studio, seeing what color shirt I'm wearing. Live streaming the show every single day on places like Facebook and X and Rumble and YouTube. And oh, by the way, our website, rightsidemedia.org. And then there's all you YouTubers. You podcasters who catch it after the fact. Listen, the bottom line is I say all that to say we know where you are in terms of listening to the show, and it means the world to us. So thank you. Whether you're catching it online, on radio, or after the fact on podcast, it means the world to us, and we appreciate you very much. Hey, I want to ask you a favor, too. I am going to ask a favor. I'm going to ask a shameless favor. We are a growing business. We are doing all we can to put out good content. The only way we're allowed to grow in terms of the online capabilities that we have is for people who are on our social media platforms or our YouTube to do all the click a like or click a subscribe, click a follow. It would mean the world to us if you would. So like on YouTube, you can find us, go to Rightside Media. All right. There's another company with a similar name called Rightside Broadcasting, different group. Go to Rightside Media and click subscribe. It doesn't charge you anything. It doesn't even do anything to you. It doesn't send you emails, but it gives us the next boost. And we're allowed to do more on the platform the more followers we have. On our social media, whether it be on my personal one, the Twitter at Sinphil Williams, or on Facebook, it would mean the world if you would follow or you would hit like, because all that does is it tells the platform that we have engagement, and then they allow us to do more things. So yes, it would mean a lot to us. Those things really do matter. If you scroll by it and you don't click like, then the algorithm assumes you didn't want to see more. And it may not take you back to our kind of stuff later. Anyway, shameless plug, but I appreciate all y'all and thank you very much. We were talking off the air, Epstein files. Your thoughts on this? Because apparently you've got thoughts on this.
Well, I think both Jeff and Dale are right. I think the massive conspiracy is not the fact that they didn't release the files. I think it's how they went about not releasing the files. Like if they would have come out and I don't think the reaction would have been good if they did it this way, but I think the reaction would have been a lot less. We wouldn't still be talking about it if they were like, look, I know we promised all this stuff. The stuff's just not even there. Like it's not really a client list. And if they were more honest and sincere about it.
They did say that.
They did say that, but then it's like, shut up about Epstein. Why are you asking? Do you really still care about Epstein? Really? Guys, what like that? I think that is what's made this a bigger conspiracy. I mean, like I said, it would have been a story for like a week or two, I think. And I think eventually people would have moved on. But I think the gaslighting and the way they went about it is what amplified it. But also, I think the ardent Trump supporters are not jumping ship over this. I do worry about that sliver of independent voters, the libertarian, folks that voted Trump this time. This is stuff they care about because
who would they go to if they didn't? I mean, who are they going to vote for the Green Party candidate?
No, there's people in the Republican Party like Thomas Massey, who's I think kind of positioning himself to run in this. That's just me personally. He is like the libertarian. That's their guy in the Republican Party. So I think it'd be somebody like him. But all I'm trying to say is I think the ardent Trump supporters,
somebody like him, do what?
Run for president. I think, and they would support somebody like him
as a libertarian or independent,
or Republican, or I don't know, America Party, something.
I don't think
I don't know who they will support, but they won't support Trump, and they may not support the GOP. They may not. They just may not vote at all.
I think those people are so few and far between. I think they're real. They're there. That's why I said a minute ago on the Grand Council. There's absolutely a group out there that care so deeply about that they will ignore economics, they'll ignore foreign policy, they'll ignore military. They want that.
No, I don't think it's the Epstein in particular. I think it's that points to them of government corruption. And truth be told, they did win Trump this last election in a landslide that it was. I think it was the independent libertarian leaning folks. So I don't know. They're probably not going to vote Democrat because they're not what they want either. But I think they may not vote at all. That's what I'm worried about in the midterms.
I think the midterms, if there's anything, there might be some of those who are apathy and don't choose to vote for anybody.
That's why
I don't think you're going to have any viable third party rise up because of the Epstein files. I don't think you're going to wind up having such a huge section of the Republican base disenfranchised from the broader piece of the Trump administration's policy network that they're going to just abandon and crater the vote. I do think there will be those who are like, I'm still mad that I didn't get to see the inside of who shot JFK. This is the modern day version for some of the who shot JFK conspiracy. But I don't think we're going to wind up seeing it crater the base. I do think there will be some who will stay home. That's the problem.
I do think it was kind of the cherry on top, though. There was a group of MAGA that was upset with how the Iran situation was handled. There was a group that's upset that Trump is funding Ukraine again, and then I think there was things that the independent folks who kind of went to the Republican Party. I think the Epstein was kind of the cherry on top of a sequence of things where they were like fed up.
I think it's a case of, like Margaret Thatcher used to say, true consensus is the absence of leadership. You will never please everybody. There's no way. There's no way to please everybody. There are certain things I wish they'd done differently, but there is no way in the world I'd ever go back to what we had, and with the Biden administration. So it's going to be interesting to watch. I mean, I think you're right. I think there's a group out there that are very upset by it, But I don't think it's going to wind up being a thing. I don't think it's going to wind up being a thing that craters the base and decides the election. I think there's going to be some folks, though, who are going to, I think there was some who will waste their vote on, will somebody please run as an independent? Good luck with that. You can't even get on the ballots in every state as an independent. So, yeah, that's not going to happen. And then the other piece is, well, we need a third party. Well, good luck with that. Unless Elon Musk is going to put his billions into it, I'm not sure it's going anywhere. Whatever happened to that? He was a big story like a month and a half ago, and it went poof. So I think what's going to wind up happening, though, is you will have some who stay home because they're disenfranchised because they were single issue voters to begin with. But I think the vast majority of the base who wanted a change is still, for the most part, glad where we are.
Just one last thought. I really do think Massey is positioning himself to run in the GOP as that for those feelings of disenfranchised, independent libertarian leaning folks who voted Republican last time and they're pissed off now. I mean, Massey, I think he's positioning himself
Kentucky?
He's Kentucky. Yeah. And he is like the libertarian who is a Republican leaning, but I think he will capitalize on this to appeal to the disenfranchised.
How popular is he in his home state? I'm asking.
Very. I mean, he won his last election. I don't know the exact number. It was not close. But however, Trump has formed a PAC specifically to oust him in Kentucky.
I wonder if
has
Massey
thrown $1 million on it.
I wonder if Massey would run for Mitch McConnell's seat.
I don't know. I think if Massey's not running for representative again, he'll run for president. I think he's that popular within that base we were talking about. I mean, the libertarians adore Massey, and so I'm not saying he's going to run as a libertarian. I do think he'll run in the GOP in the 2028 as president for those groups of voters. Like, hey, don't give up on the Republican Party yet. I'm here, So I don't know if he'll win, but I do think he will do that.
All right, let me take some text messages before I run out of time as the break's right upon us. Jeff from Indiana texted in earlier. He said, hey, Phil, just watched a YouTube video with Maxine Waters basically calling for violence against Republicans, and it wasn't flagged. I wonder why. Yeah, we got flagged. Just so y'all missed that earlier. We had a January 6th participant who was here yesterday in studio, and YouTube chose to flag us. And Jeff says Maxine Waters is on YouTube calling for violence and not getting flagged. Shane from Athens says, with regards to the shooting at Fort Stewart, he says open carry changes this crap. There you go. Matt from Madison says, hey, Massachusetts elections have consequences. So said Obama. Okay, that's a point. Steve from Huntsville says, I didn't know that a mayor could pardon. Yeah, on municipal offenses. Keep in mind, you have city court. So if city court has the offense, which happens all the time, if you get arrested by, say, Huntsville PD on a traffic violation, that's city court. If your traffic violation also resulted in a drug offense, that's still city court. Not everything rises to state court. So you have municipal offenses based upon municipal ordinances, and it can settle. And so, yes, the mayor has pardon authority. Dave from Athens says, Dave from Athens here. John from Huntsville set up a Yahoo Pick'em League for the Rightside Ruffians. The group ID is 1977. Password to join the group is Rightside Radio. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate you. So we got a Pick'em League. Is this for what, NCAA football, or what are we talking about?
I assume so.
That's good. Well, apparently Dave from Athens is already in, so there's that. Dave from Capshaw says, Phil, you need to have JP do an internet search on Speedway Slammer. I've seen that. I have seen that. I'm still waiting for the Bammer Slammer. That's what I want to see next. When's the Bammer Slammer come into the news headlines? When are we gonna have? I know for a fact we have one ICE detention facility right about 5 minutes away from where we're broadcasting right now, and it holds hundreds. But the Speedway Slammer is in Indiana, and
apparently the Indianapolis 500 is not too happy that they use that their image. Because they put up a picture with the Speedway,
did they put a checkered flag on it and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, with a car, and the outside the Indy 500 is the ICE detention facility. So yeah, they're not too happy they did that.
They're probably getting a cease and desist letter right now, but even still, Speedway Slammer. That's funny. I think the Bammer Slammer is the best name I've heard yet, and I coined it.
That was Deontay Wilder's nickname, by the way. The boxer from Alabama Slammer.
Was he? He was, wasn't he?
That was his. Well, it was the Bronze Bomber, but he also called himself the Alabama Slammer. So that was him.
Where is he now?
He did retire, but then he came out and won a match, so he may be back. I don't know.
I met him when he came down to Montgomery.
He's a beast.
I would say dude's a beast.
One of the greatest. I think he has the record for most heavyweight knockouts ever. He's a man.
And listen, the guy's solid as a rock too. He's like 6'5".
No, it's 6'7".
Oh, is he 6'7"?
Yeah, he's big.
Okay, I stood next to him and I felt short, and I'm 6'2". Tom from Decatur says, my question is there any evidence that a past or present politician had relations with a minor child on the island? Can they be charged with a crime in this country? Yes, because it's in the Virgin Islands, and that's part of the U.S. territories. So, yes. TC from Priceville says, I think this administration is saving a lot of these big zingers for next year's midterms. That's possible. That's interesting. They're harboring some things. Could be. Stranger things have happened in politics. And then Jarm from Harvest says, yeah, on that Pick'em group, the group ID is 1977. Password is Rightside Radio. So we have John from Huntsville hasn't even told us about it yet, but other listeners already know about it.
Well, no, John from Harvest asked if I can give him the details again. I was sending him the details.
Oh, that's you doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought that was him saying,
No.
Okay, great. All right. So yeah, there it is. The Pick'em is already out. John from Huntsville, thank you for creating it. It's the Rightside Radio Pick'em. I got to get myself in it this time. We're taking a break. Last break of the day. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back.
And it should be what guides you in these other things.
Well, you may have just answered the last question already then.
Perfect.
Yeah. Thank you for coming tonight. Now, the last question, I thought it was a great one to end on. What are the core values that guide your decisions and your actions?
Well, yeah, you already heard the first one. This is easy, right? Christ and Christ crucified is what Paul says. Now, does that mean, I was actually speaking to a group of people in Boston, all liberals, mostly Democrats, right? But I was speaking to them in Boston on why I would be an important senator for them in Boston, even though I'm coming out of Alabama. And one of the ladies asked me, she said, hey, you keep talking about this Jesus thing. A lot of them are Jewish, like real Jewish people. So they don't like the Jesus loving stuff. They're not like Messianic Jews. They said, you keep talking about this. What are you going to do if somebody believes something different? I said, ma'am, it's not my job to convince you or to beat you over the head with what I believe. It's only my job to tell you. Paul says, how would they ever hear if a preacher doesn't preach? So that would be the first thing that drives me, is to make sure that I share the gospel with whoever I come in contact with. Your ministry, if you're a Christian, is to share the gospel unashamedly with everybody you come in contact with, no matter where you are or what you're doing. No matter if you're a radio show host, doesn't matter if you're in politics, doesn't matter if you're working with an organization like Moms for Liberty, dealing with school board and libraries, doesn't matter if you are working at the gas station down the road. That's your ministry. That's first thing. So that's the first fundamental pillar of who Jared Hudson is. That's my keystone. That's my base. That's my foundation. The next is my family, my wife and my girls. I had a young lady in Mountain Brook at a little event we were doing ask, she said, how do we know? It sounds good to say you want to take our issues to DC and not bring DC issues back here. And it's easy for me to say that. How do we know that you're not going to bring DC issues back here and you're not just going to go up there and do what everybody else does and disappear in Washington, DC and become one of the political elite? I said, that's a great question. Well, it's because my wife and girls are going to stay here. And that's my next pillar, my next foundation. My heart will be in Gardendale, Alabama. My heart will be with mama and those girls here, rooted in Alabama, because that's where we're raising our family. We don't want to bring them to DC. So I'll be back and forth Monday through Friday. So that's my second pillar. My third pillar is we the people. Now, I know that sounds like it's like, oh, well, no, you're running to support we the people. It's got to be God first, and then it's got to be my family second. Because I love you, Phil, but if I got to choose between you and one of my little girls, I'm choosing one of my little girls every day of the week, right? And you wouldn't be upset about that, because it'd be the same thing if it was me versus one of your grandkids. That's the way it works. It's God, then family, then finally the people that I'm elected to serve. God has my heart. My family has my heart. This is the foundation I'm built on. The final pillar of this foundation is the state and the nation that I'm called to serve. We the people, who's saying, we trust that this man can be the elected representative to take our issues to the power center of the world, to the power center of the nation, to make sure that they're dealt with as effectively as we can possibly deal with them in this great experiment that's been the experiment of the United States of America, and bring it back to positively impact us geopolitically, so all around the world, what we see going on everywhere, to impact our immigration issues that we see affecting us nationally, and then also in the state of Alabama, to impact our economic issues, right? We see that nationally we're taking in $6.5 trillion, or we're taking in $4.5 trillion a year, and we're spending $6.5 trillion a year. Hey, let's just stop spending more than we're taking in. We don't need to tax more. We just need to spend less. There you go. And then finally, looking at the state, we got a great state that provides a lot right here in Huntsville. We build rockets in Huntsville. We build ships in Mobile. We've got great agriculture all throughout the state. By the way, our agriculture is in like the top 5 across the board. Catfish farming, I didn't even realize was in the top 5 in Alabama. Yeah, catfish farming, timber, peanut crops in South Alabama. If you look at agriculture, we support a lot around this nation. And bringing that back and elevating Alabama, my home, so that my home, my state, the state of Alabama, can continue to elevate the nation. Those are the foundational things that drive me. How can I bring legacy? That final thing, how can I bring legacy to the United States of America, in particular to the state of Alabama? And that's why I think I'm the best choice for U.S. Senator.
I just want to point out, extemporaneous speaking is not an easy thing. And every bit of that was unplanned, off the cuff, from the heart.
That's a super big word.
And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Just making common sense like a superpower. All right. So, by the way, don't forget, tomorrow I'll be out of the studio, but I'm very thankful. State Representative Ernie Yarbrough, who always does an amazing job when he comes in. That guy's like wired up. He comes in and does a great job. He'll be here tomorrow, sitting in the studio, hanging out with JP and running through the show with you. And then I'll be back on Friday afternoon. Tomorrow, I would appreciate thoughts, prayers, and even concerns. I will be on CNN up in New York City once again on the news night with Abby Phillip at 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern. So, I'll be sitting in the conservative guy seat on a panel. I know not yet who's going to be on there with me. Last time I had quite the panel, a couple of other Republicans and one of the members of The View. Sat there with me as we ran through the issues. But yes, I will be in New York City tomorrow night on CNN, 9 p.m. Please check it out. Grades are in real quick. I'll get those and I'll go to the phones. Dale Jackson and Jeff Poor both get a solid A for their equally fantastic performances. Phil gets an A+ for his excellent performance, which means today's winner with an A+ for his magnificent performance is the king of Gen Z, JP. That was not even a sympathy vote for your Braves, being a Braves fan. It was just like you earned it. You earned it.
It could have been. He probably feels bad.
Let me jump on that phone because Jeff Rowe from Indiana is driving the truck through Nashville right now. Hey, brother, how you doing?
Well, I don't know if I'm driving or not. It's more like sitting in Nashville.
Oh, God. Really?
It's that bad.
It's that bad.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Imagine that.
You know, someday you're going to find an alternate route. There's got to be, like, you're going to find that route and go, why have I not known about this all this time?
I'm waiting for Elon to make me a truck tunnel, man. I really am.
Let me call Elon and tell him that Jeff said, well.
Hey, you'll have a national audience tomorrow. Maybe you can mention that.
Yeah, I will. Hey, while I'm on the air, shout out to Elon. We need a tunnel for Jeff in Nashville.
There you go.
Well, what do you think about all this stuff?
What you need to do tomorrow when you're on there, tonight you need to go get a nice white towel and print on there liberal tears towel. And then take that, and when they start crying over everything you say, just throw it at them and say, here you go. I learned from last time that I might need this for my next visit.
my liberal tears towel. Oh, that'll
liberal tears towel.
That'll go over well.
Scott Jennings, you would knock Scott Jennings all the way off the show. He would be asking you to come back every day.
Yeah, we'll see. I think I heard you saying off the air that I need to have some like WWF wrestling intro, like with pyrotechnics and stuff when I come in.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, you're the only conservative there, basically. At least the most conservative there, anyhow.
Well, it's going to be a hoot. I tell you what, though, I really did enjoy it. I mean, they were great hosts. I did not feel at all like I was in dangerous territory. Although I was sitting with people that, let's just say, if we weren't on the show together, we wouldn't be hanging out together. I mean, they're not coming to barbecue at my house, you know what I'm saying? But
Well, yeah, but I mean, you're the one who's going to get all the clickbait and everything because everybody else you're on there with and everything, they're all going to say the same thing. You're the only one who's going to have a different opinion.
Well, we shall see, brother. We shall see. Hey, what'd you think about earlier in the show? I talked about the speed of Trump. What do you think about all that?
I think he's moving at warp speed, man, and we need to keep going because he's got a limited time he's going to be in there, and then especially if the midterms don't go the way we want them to go. So it's coming up faster than anybody can imagine.
It really is. In fact, I mean, 6 months doesn't feel like a long time, and really it's not when you think about it. But at the same time, I feel like he just took office yesterday. It's already been 6 months. I mean, I'm still getting over the fact that it's August of 2025 right now. I feel like Y2K was yesterday, but it's
plus you get these people that's running for office out of the safety zone because they got to start running again. I mean, they're pretty much in the safe zone now. They can do a few things and people will forget, and not kind of go by the wayside. But as election comes closer, they're going to be a little more, in tune with the base, so to speak. So it's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun, and midterms are always scary. I'm just glad that Mitch McConnell is no longer the one helping orchestrate the midterms. I mean, that was the biggest debacle. I mean, was it said last time? I never promised you a Republican supermajority. Well, you should have. Maybe you should have worked for one.
You have a problem with the turtle? Oh my!
Yeah.
He's been in there so long.
I know. Hey, by the way, before you go,
still locking up.
Hey, we have about 30
Go
seconds
ahead.
before we have to go, and you guys apparently have the next Alligator Alcatraz, the Speedway Slammers in Indiana.
Yeah, I mean, come on, we need to start some more Spanish classes though in school. I'm sure because we're going to need a lot of ice agents up there. Not too many people speak Spanish in Indiana, as far as I know. So
Was that Speedway Slammer anywhere near you? Is that where is it going to be? Where you know where it is?
no, it's going to be between Indianapolis and Kokomo. I think there's a little facility up there already. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a pretty rural area. So.
Well, it's a little facility. It's about to get a big expansion is what it sounds like. Well, listen, brother, the music's playing. You be safe on the road. We appreciate you. I'll be back here on Friday, okay?
All right. I'll be watching tomorrow with everybody else.
All right, bud. Thank you, man.
Safe.
All right, listen, you guys, I will be back here on Friday. In the meantime, come on in with Ernie Yarbrough tomorrow. And like I always say, there are more of us than there are of them. God is still on his throne. And oh, by the way, stay in the fight. We'll see you tomorrow.